Honorable members, Madam Speaker.
Prayer.
Almighty God, who in infinite wisdom and providential goodness have appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of humanity, we beseech you to look upon with your abundant favor these your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important trusts in this land. Let your blessing descend upon them here assembled, and grant that they may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under their deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the good of those whose interests you have committed to their charge. Amen.
Item 2, communication from the chair.
Honorable members, I want to welcome you to this afternoon sitting. And on a special note, I want to thank Honorable Bahati. And why am I thanking Honorable Bahati? He knows why he's here, why he was appointed as a minister. He knows he has to be here. Honorable Bahati, even Honorable Musasi, I am happy the whip has also come, but that does not remove what we have said. Honorable Bahati, Honorable Whip and Finance, we are happy you're here. Whip, we need you to really whip your ministers. We need ministers in the house. Today we have a very important motion that we are going to pass. That is on thanking the president and a rebuttal from opposition. We need people to be here to respond. Anyway, I want to welcome you to this afternoon meeting. Honorable members, last week we notified you on the issue of the Road Act 2019, which did not have the attendant regulations to aid its enforcement. And in less than a day, and one of the recommendations that we talked about was inspection of vehicles to determine whether they are DMCs. In less than a day, we get the accident in Kagadi where 16 people perished. That was really so sad. So sad that a vehicle can just ram on another because of the dangerous condition it is in. And we are aware that it is the regulations that are integral in operationalization of the laws that we have made in this house. I want information from the Attorney General or from the ministers or from government on how many regulations do we have on all the bills that we have passed in this house. We need to know which regulation has been made for which bill, for which act that has been passed. We want that laid on this floor tomorrow. Honorable Government Chief Whip, we will continue making laws in this house and we'll be excited we have made these bills, we have these acts in place, but without regulations, you cannot operationalize. So we need the regulations to be in place and they should be brought in this house. We must match a regulation vis-a-vis the law that has been passed. What is operationalizing it? Honorable members, I have been informed that we have a problem with the road fund. I got a petition, and the petition that I got on the road fund, what happened when during budgeting process, the Minister of Finance did not put sufficient money for the road fund. Instead, thought it wise that the 1 billion shillings that we allocated to districts was for the road fund. And you know very well that on the issues of the road fund, for instance, if you look at in the history of this house on appropriation, financial year 2022-2023, there was a big reduction on the fund, that is vote 118. And the big reduction was from 489.3 billion in financial year 2021-2022 to 487 billion, and then financial year 2022-2023 to 401 billion only. Instead of increasing, it is reducing. So because of that, we've gotten a petition and we need, there's a reduction of 88 billion. We need a committee of infrastructure to study this issue and report back, and we need also a response from finance on why did they reduce that amount. So you can give your response to the committee and that should be reported to the House. Because, honorable members, this money goes to our constituencies and it helps us in coming back to the parliament. If we cannot fight for a road fund, then you're nobody. These roads are bad, they need to be worked on. And when people say the money goes to members of parliament, it's not our personal money. We are working on the roads. We provide for money to work on the roads. So we must work very hard to ensure that the money that belongs to the road fund should be put back or even increased. Honorable members, it has also come to our attention that since 2020, the Kampala Capital City Authority is unable to collect needed revenue from the outdoor advertising due to absence of relevant ordinance. There is no ordinance. KCC has not made the ordinance. So all those things that you're seeing, the signposts that you're seeing, and I can see the chairperson of presidential is nodding her head. They are not collecting money. So the NTR that is collected from KCCA is limited because of lack of ordinance. So we want Kampala Capital City to have the ordinance in place and ensure that all those outdoor advertisements are being paid for. We need money. We cannot continue all the time lamenting that we don't have money. And yet we have an avenue of collecting money. So that should be implemented and reported back to this house. Honorable members, you know very well that it's you and me who are supposed to make sure that we support government in getting money. And that should be done. Honorable members, during the weekend, Sunday, the Prime Minister went and represented the country in the women's soccer in Kigali. I think you also are very excited. And she went and watched the women football, the Crested Crane in Kigali, where our team performed very well. And we want to thank the team. The team is due to go to Paris for Women Olympic Football tournament qualifiers. In the next phase, they will be going to Cameroon in September 2023. I want to congratulate the women for that. And on behalf of the women of Uganda, we will continue supporting our women football because they are proving to be better than all the others. And as a house, we will continue ensuring that they get sufficient funding, and the funding this time must be channeled to the women, not only men. The 11th Parliament will do that and will always support sports in this country. We will support sports, whatever kind of sports. We will support it for socioeconomic transformation. Honorable members, yesterday I received the information of the unrest of Amolata district, where some locals were up against non-natives of the area. There are people who were not from that area, so the locals did not want people who are not from that area. We are all Ugandans. We need to coexist. We should not go into that traditional times that we don't want people who are not from this area. So I want the minister to ensure that we avoid this kind of thing. And finally, on a sad note, again, this weekend we witnessed, on top of the 16 accidents, today we got information of the demise of the Archbishop Emeritus of Mbarara Diocese. His Archdiocese, His Grace Paul Bachenga. The deceased was a very dedicated servant of God and committed to his entire life in fulfilling his priesthood. May we rise and observe a moment of silence.
May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Thank you so much, honorable members. I still want to reiterate on the issue of attendance in the house. Attendance in the house is one of the core roles that you should do. If you don't attend the house, I saw a New Vision showing that the best members of parliament, Sarah Penny, because she grabs a microphone all the time. But much as she just grabs the microphone all the time, she's here. So be here and be seen to be here. That's why you're voted. You're voted to be in the house. Pardon? Honorable members, you need to be in the house. And I want to tell you that we print those. When you log in, the login, we print it. You voters are going to look at, are you in the house? Are you in the constituency? Where are you? This is your home when you're in Kampala. You get it, eh? So if you are not here, then where are you? And a committee sit in the morning, in the afternoon. That's why we decided to have the house in the afternoon. Honorable members, for me, what I'm giving you is a simple advice. And you know the rules of procedure of this house. When you don't attend the house for a number of times, you know what happens. But I wish you good luck in today's deliberation. Thank you. Procedure. Honorable members, first, before you get on procedure, let me introduce my children. In the public gallery this afternoon, we have the volleyball and netball teams that have qualified to go to Kigali. And these teams are the girls and the boys, represented by Right Honorable Anita, Honorable Poloti Shagi, and Honorable Ikojo John Bosco, and this and grandmother. And these kids are from Bukedea Comprehensive School. Please stand up. Stand up. You're most welcome. And that school is for none other than. Thank you so much for coming. Please have a seat. Enjoy. This is your parliament. Yes, procedure matter. Matt.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I rise on procedural matter. You have said that every time a member comes, he must register the signature to prove that the member is in. Right Honorable Speaker, the strategic development plan says that we should leave no one behind. We have allowed legally for the elderly to be members of this house. But unfortunately, technology is not taking care of the needs of the elderly. So every time I come here, I try to put my finger, put the first one, the second one, the third. Right Honorable Speaker. So the only way that I have been able to prove that I'm around is occasionally to speak if I'm allowed to speak. Otherwise, by virtue of registering through technology, I have been alienated. I'm not in a position to register my presence. And I believe the others as well. Secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, on the issue of Molatar, the people who are there and are not supposed to be people from Molatar. I think that issue has not been properly understood. I'm immediate neighbor to Molatar. Most of the people who are in Molatar are not Langi. They have for generations been people from different areas. You find the Bateso there, the Basoga there, the Barulis, you know, the Baganda, they're all mixed up. So for anybody to say that the Langi of Molatar are not allowing other people to be there, that person is lying. Where the people are bitter is because there are people who have come with their goats, with their cows, and they want to dominate that place. And they are protected by arms. So, Right Honorable Speaker, this is a very serious matter. We have to investigate it. The Langis will never, ever stop anybody from integrating with the Langi.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, Imat, first of all, the technology we have is compatible with even the elders, the disability, and everybody, including age. We have grandmothers here, great grandmothers like Imat. The system is compatible. In my, actually, we need jig for her to wash her feet. In my communication, I did not mention the name Langi. I said the people in Molata. And the people in Molata, as you've said, some of them are Bateso, some of them Aiteso, some of them Luo and whichever. What we are saying, they need to learn to coexist. Much as we are doing investigation, let the investigation be done, but we do not need to kill each other. Let the investigation go on, but without killing each other. Yes, proceed, yeah.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, last week, the Prime Minister undertook to come back to this House and give government position on the fate of the local councils. Right Honorable Speaker, there is a law we enacted in 2006, the Local Council Courts Act. Those local council courts, particularly at the local council 2 level, are mandated to handle all disputes related to customary land. And the customary land appears to be the biggest land tenure system in this country. Now that the term of office of the local councils has expired, the effect of judgments passed by those local council courts and entertaining the disputes are all matters of law, and one would conveniently say they lack jurisdiction and cannot act. So it's a huge crisis because land disputes are all over the country and on a daily basis. So can we know from the Prime Minister, when the government is availing resources for local council elections to be held, since there is no any other way other than that?
Government, can we hear about the local council?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, that issue was here last week, and this Thursday, the Minister of Local Government is coming up to this Parliament to inform you about the program for the local councils. I thank you.
I need to find out, honorable members. Government, I need to find out something. Assuming something happens between now and Thursday, that requires a LOC1 stamp, an acknowledgement and presence. What happens? We just want to be educated. We need to be guided.
Right Honorable Speaker, the Attorney General will give us a clarification. He's on his way coming. So he'll come here and give us a clarification on that.
Honorable
Thank you.
members, the legal advice of government is the AG. Can we have the AG to put that issue of LOCs to rest? Let's not talk about it. Can we have the AG in the house? First tell us which party you belong to.
Procedure.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. Rule 50 requires all ministers to attend Parliament and answer questions. You thank the Honorable Bahati and Honorable Musasizi for attending. I have said the Speaker did. Their attendance must be of value. It is not a ceremony. If you have a person holding the office of Prime Minister and for every question she's looking at her shoulder, I want to go to Rule 50. We have UPDF officers who are in this parliament. You hear members of parliament, the most recent one from Njeru, that he has gone to see Muhoozi Kainerugaba General to develop his constituency. Yet we are the ones who pass a budget here. So I have two issues to proceed you. The first, can the president publish a list of all his relatives and we know who handles which development? The second one,
A list
can
of,
we,
a list of what?
of his relatives, and we know who handles.
for
Because
what
Honorable
reason?
Njeru went to Muhoozi Kainerugaba. I want to know who I go to if I have another matter. And then, Madam Speaker, and this is a very serious matter, don't take it because I've seen MPs going to meet General Sare. If we have two generals who are important and they can attend parliament and answer questions, why don't we chase away two from these ones and bring the others who can answer questions in the parliament?
Honorable Semuju. Honorable Semuju. I don't see any problem with anybody going to see General Saleh or going to see MK or going to see the president. First of all, the president is the president of the Republic of Uganda and is your president. He's the president, Honorable Semuju. So if people want to go, if that's where they find solace, what's wrong with anybody going anywhere? How come that for you, you come to me, you don't go to your Secretary General Nandala?
Thank you. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to thank you for your resilience and commitment in ensuring that there is sanity on our roads in Uganda. And in your communication about the important road fund for the districts and the cities, that is...
Chair, we have already referred that to the committee.
Yes, I wanted to add, Madam, just 1 second on
you will go to the committee and
Yeah,
take that
there
information.
is a, Madam, one
You will
point.
go to the committee. You will go to the committee. That's a very serious matter.
No, there was
It's
one
not
more-
something that we should just sweep it on the
No,
the floor here.
Madam, I wanted to add the
Akik, please have a seat. Christine, I am going to attend to all of you, including Hajat, Patrick, Christine.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. We have heard your communication regarding the need for the Prime Minister to share with us the number of acts and their related...
The Attorney General.
The Attorney General, the number of acts and their related regulations. Right Honorable Speaker, we passed the Climate Change Act in 2021, and up to date, there are no regulations pertaining to that act. The other time we were battling with the Biofuels Act, we were not sure of whether it is 2018 or 2020, just because of regulations that it had been assented to by the President in 2018, but the coming into force, the commencement was 2020. And so the act adopted in 2020 as its year. So these are the delays that even refer the beginning of the regulations or acts in further years, which confuses us. So thank you so much. We shall be waiting for the regulations, especially as far as climate change is concerned, because when you look at most disasters that have befallen our country, 70% of them are climate related. I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you so much. Attorney General, Government Chief Whip, you need to communicate to Attorney General. All the acts that we've passed, we need the regulations. We cannot pass a bill in 2019. It becomes an act, no regulation. It is not operationalized. So what are we doing here? We just come here, talk, and go. That should not happen. Youth.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Over the weekend, I attended a sports day activity at Katikamo SDA Secondary School in Luwero, and they notified me about their failure to facilitate the girls football team to compete for nationals. And you've commented about the girls football team in your communication. And from it, I raised from that point and request the Ministry of Education and Sports and the concerned stakeholders like the Uganda Secondary School Sports Association to increase funding to the secondary schools so that they can realize more talents from our students, and also to avoid the demoralization and demotivation to our students through that failure to facilitate our teams. Thank you so much.
You said Katikamo SDA?
Yes, Luwero District.
The one I said we are going to facilitate is the national team of women. Now, when you see those young girls shining there, I also facilitate them myself as a director.
But I thought the ministry.
So we don't have money as government to facilitate each school.
Okay,
Yes,
Right Honorable.
Matchbox.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Maureen.
Yes, right. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise still on communication that you made towards sports as well. Right Honorable Speaker, it is a culture in this house that whenever we attend the East African parliamentary sports, that a report is brought on the floor of parliament and read to members. But ever since we went to Juba and attended last sports, until date, there is no report that has been brought on the floor of parliament. And secondly, Right Honorable Speaker, I do not still know why, because we the athletes, we did well. So
you actually did very, very well. It was the best in the East African.
So I want to seek your advice, Right Honorable Speaker.
Can we have the medals, the trophies, and the report presented on Thursday? Because if you don't present, I will not send you for the next one. You should present it by Thursday. Okay? Okay. Max? Then still on communication. Max?
I'm glad I caught your eye, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I rise to make a statement on your communication regarding the increasing road accidents. On Saturday, 15th this very month, at about 8 hours in the morning, a farmer, and I come from West Budama North constituency in Buke, this sub-region. A farmer was transporting trays of eggs to Tororo along Tororo-Nagongara Road. Unfortunately, because of the narrowness of the road, the potholes on the road, he got involved in an accident and lost almost 90% of the eggs. Madam Speaker, last financial year, Minister of Finance released money to UNRWA to undertake a feasibility study to upgrade that road, 44 kilometers. Unfortunately, the financial year ended without conclusion of that feasibility study. We have had numerous accidents on that road, and as long as the road remains the way it is, accidents will continue to occur. May I request government to update the people of West Budama North constituency and Bukedi sub-region at large on the status of that feasibility study. Thank you.
Thank you, government.
Right Honorable Speaker, since the money has been released to Ministry of Works, like the Honorable Member of Parliament has said, we need the ministry, I'm going to call the ministry to come here and they give us, the minister to give us the visibility study that has been carried on that road. I thank you.
First of all, what we are hearing that the money was released is still a hearsay. We need a confirmation that the money was released to UNRWA, and then what is being done at the moment, because that was the last financial year. So the minister should come here and report on what is being done. Yes. Pius?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I talked about the road fund. I happen to be the chairperson Hoima District Roads Committee. When this parliament passed the 1 billion through Ministry of Works, it caused a lot of excitement in our constituencies. But I was shocked when I was chairing a meeting that Hoima District in the last financial year, we got 479 million and we were able to rehabilitate 47 kilometers. But with now 1 billion, Hoima District is planning only to rehabilitate 35 kilometers because of, they are saying, because of the strict guidelines from the Ministry of Works. So I request that the Ministry of Works should really table these guidelines if this money is to help our people.
Thank you.
I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. We need the guidelines laid here tomorrow for each member of parliament to be aware of the guidelines that you're giving. And as I said earlier on, honorable members, you need to take a lead in this money. If you're going to leave that money to those cows, you will not get anything. Tinker, Kisa.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for your communication. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, as we debate this afternoon, my constituency and the entire Kagadi district, maybe plus Chenjojo, were ripped with grief this weekend, where an accident happened in a forest of Kangombe, in a village called Karalike, of a trailer which was carrying fish. I don't know from where. I think it could be from either Congo or around Lake Albert. And they knocked head on a taxi which was having 18 occupants who had come from burial of one of their friends, and they crushed the entire taxi and all the people who were in it. Right Honorable Speaker, we had, other than the loss of our people, we had difficulties, particularly with the police trying to retrieve the bodies of the people who were in the wreckage. They did not have means to pull off the trailer such that they could see who was remaining behind. It attracted very many people trying to remove it manually, and the police, I think, sensing chaos because people started rioting. Those who watched news, people blocked the road because they were dissatisfied that they can have such a nasty accident and government is not running to their rescue. Right Honorable Speaker, it took an entire day The accident happened at 8 p.m. on Sunday. The whole of yesterday, this truck was still lying on some bodies. Government had not mobilized any means from Fort Portal, from Hoima, to come and remove the wreckage. From dead bodies. We are asking government that in such circumstances, they should be able to respond quickly. Two, this area where the accident happened used to have 2 roads when it was a Marab road. That's where for us, that's where we have Kubiri. We used to call it Kubiri, the place that has 2 roads. 2 roads. But when they were tarmacking, they removed and created 1 road. But it remained with a very, very sharp corner to a level that somebody coming from up will never see who is coming from down. And Right Honorable Speaker, it is in a forest. I did not see any sense why they remained with that corner, because this is a government land. If they were fearing compensation, they would sort out themselves. They would cut off that corner, unless they have engineering reasons. We pray that that corner, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable member, we've got the information. The corner is going to be removed.
If it was the Honorable Achara, I would take the information.
Now,
because
Eric?
in my constituency,
Eric?
they are burying 4 people. In his constituency, they are burying more people.
Eric?
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker and the honorable colleague, for giving way. Madam Speaker, it is so devastating in my constituency, Buyaga East. My prayer, without going into details, Madam Speaker, if government can have a better rapid emergency response system, if it can be in place, would save lives. Madam Speaker, today I've again lost another voter who was supposed to have probably survived. But because there was a lot of laxity on the side of government, we lost this life. Madam Speaker, if we can also, if government can, because this is a disaster, if government can come in and help us to send off really in a more dignifying manner. Sometimes they give some better condolences to these people. It would be much more easier, Madam Speaker.
Okay, thank you. Honorable members, I think we have got the message.
Much obliged. The Right Honorable Speaker, we have seen in the past similar accidents as my friend is raising, particularly on buses that cross from Rwanda. Even where fewer people have died, the president runs it with a handshake to condone with the families. We would want to see the same hand extended to the 18 families that have lost their dear ones. Right, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, government. First of all, our condolences to the families that lost. And while you are away, we even observe the moment of silence for those families. And the issue still goes back to the road designs. The issue of the corner. Prime Minister, you need to communicate to UNRWA. You also need to the funding for burial expenses.
Right, Honorable Speaker. It is really on a sad note that our relatives lost their beloved ones in such a nasty accident, and you were informed that this was because of overspeeding, whereby I call upon all the leaders to sensitize our people, all those who are road users, to control the speed or to behave when they're on the road, because that car came, and because of that corner, it failed and it rammed into the other vehicle, whereby
Let's
the
not zero it down to overspeeding. An
there
accident
are many-
happened.
Yes,
There are many reasons.
there are many reasons, but it's one of them. So I'm calling upon the leaders to sensitize whoever is using the road. Right Honorable Speaker, the president is concerned about every life.
Let's first hear the issue of money.
He's
That's what-
concerned about every life. And he has done it willingly without us calling him to do that. Right now, he's aware of what is happening. And I cannot say that the president has to be called by parliament because he has done it before. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I'm going to
By the
inform
way,
Yunura.
Parliament is not calling the president to do that. It is a request from the members of parliament of that area. It is not parliament. Keep us of this. It is parliament. It is the president that gives her notes.
Thank you. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for that clarification. Right Honorable Speaker, as the request has been made by the area member of parliament, we are going to pass on that request to His Excellency the President.
There's an order from your
And I
fellow
also inform
Thank you so much.
Yunura
Thank you so
to
much.
take care of that
Order.
corner. I thank you.
Right, Honorable Speaker.
Hajat.
She was on
Hajat
the
has
floor and
finished. Order on your.
But you gave me the right to speak, right, Honorable Speaker.
No, she finished too fast.
But she lied to the country that his president is.
Honorable members, this is a serious matter. These are our colleagues where we also can support, police support, but also out there to the public, we must have road discipline. Road discipline in terms of speed, in terms of ensuring that you respect other road users. Because you're using a truck and the other one is using a small vehicle. So for you, don't mind whatever happens. And then the issue of the road designs. And we've said we must have inspection of these vehicles. This vehicle lost control. It could have been a DMC. So we need to ensure that is put in place. Yes, Kisa, Patrick.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you so much for your communication on sports. Right Honorable Speaker, I happen to have attended the National Ball Games in Kabale. And I want to take this opportunity to congratulate Bukedeya Comprehensive for having participated and coming up as a very strong winner.
Clap for my school.
Right Honorable Speaker, while in Kabale, there are so many things I observed. Most of the schools that participated, like Bukedeya, like Lugazi Homeland College, were mainly private schools.
The owner of Homeland College is Honorable Kisa.
Were mainly private schools, Right Honorable Speaker. And you can hardly find a government school participating in these national game balls. The reason they give, Right Honorable Speaker, is that the government, through the Ministry of Education and Sports, do not facilitate sports and games in these schools. And even the budget, through the capitation grant, has very little money for the government schools to have the children in these schools participate in the national games. Right Honorable Speaker, the Minister of Education is here. My brother, Director, Honorable Muyingo,
Your father.
my father, my mentor. I wanted to know how much money does the government, through the Ministry of Education, provide for sports enhancement in these government schools in Uganda? And Right Honorable Speaker, most of these head teachers in government schools, because I'm a teacher, I'm very concerned. The government can provide less than 2 million shillings to run sports in the entire year. How much do you provide, Honorable Minister, to enhance the sports sector in all the government schools, including city schools that we are putting up? Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honor government.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, first of all, it's not true that government schools do not participate in these games. Evidence, perhaps that there is evidence that this year's volleyball, basketball tournament national were taken by government, were won, or it was the public schools that led.
Where?
It's true, Right Honorable Speaker.
I am just asking where. Is Standard High a government school?
You're Right Honorable Speaker.
No, you're talking to the person who has interest in this.
Standard High School, I know, is a private school owned by my brother.
Is Amos College a government school?
And the Right Honorable, in netball, we have St. Mary's Chitende. Is it
a government school?
Right.
Honorable Minister, just come with a document, with a statement. If you want us to help you on improving sports in secondary schools, then let it be.
Most obliged, Right Honorable Speaker. I'll come with a statement.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Patrick.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, in 2019, this Parliament passed money to buy road units to new districts. And Minister of Finance refused to release the money. Madam Speaker, last financial year.
Minister of Finance did not release the money. The word refused is not parliamentary for now.
Most obliged, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, last financial year, this same Parliament passed money, and the Minister of Finance never released the money for buying road units for the new districts. Right Honorable Speaker, this financial year, again, we pleaded with Parliament to provide money to the new districts. Right, honorable members, other districts have road units, but there are some 16 districts that without road units. The little money we get, we hire. Madam Speaker, we hire on that money so that we can do the route. So we end up doing very fewer kilometers. Right, Honorable Speaker. Okay.
Now you're giving somebody who has road units. Okay, let's have the next person.
Right, Honorable Speaker. Yes.
Yes, can you conclude?
Let me conclude, Madam Speaker. The Minister of Finance.
Road units.
The Minister of Finance is here. Right, Honorable Speaker, everyone is celebrating about the 1 billion, and I want to thank this Parliament because it is a good way. But for us who have no road unit, still when we are planning for the 1 billion, we are also planning to hire for the road units, which is very, very unfair. Can we get confirmation that this financial year, this first quarter, the new districts are given also the road units, Right Honorable Speaker? Thank you.
Information.
Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you and Patrick for allowing information. It is on the Hansard very clear that last year the Minister for Works and Transport came and committed here before us that 29 billion was given to them. And they were waiting for the balance.
And they were having a procurement process.
Yes.
It was in procurement.
So I would want to clarify that that information was given. So the minister should guide us. Has the balance been given? How far the procurement process has gone for us to get to know when it will be concluded?
Now, the person to give the balance is right here. Have you given the balance for the road units?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to know whether the issue is giving the balance or whether it is availing the road units. Madam Speaker, in our opinion, the issue is ensuring that all districts in the country and the municipalities have functioning road units. And Madam Speaker, this is the matter we are working on. The president is involved, and we shall ensure that all districts in Uganda get road units.
Honorable Finance, what we need to find out is, on top of the 29 billion, when are you releasing the balance for us to have equipments in those districts? That's number one. Number two, would the districts also that have equipments have unfunctioning equipments because there is no money for repairs and maintenance?
That's why, Madam Speaker, I'm saying that releasing the balance is no longer an issue. The issue is ensuring that all districts in Uganda are supported with functioning road units.
You're not answering us.
And we have put this matter before the president, and the president is making all the efforts to work with the government of Japan
Now,
to ensure that we are supplied with road units.
Honorable Henry, the answer is very simple. Henry, the answer is very simple. It's either that you appropriated, you have money for the road units or not. It's not whether it is simple or hard. We don't mind whether it is hard because you must do it anyway as government. The issue is, is there money for the road units or not? If it is not there, then let's look at plan B.
Madam Speaker.
No. He has an answer. I know, Henry.
Madam Speaker, I am constrained to give you a straightforward answer.
Honorable members, Prime Minister, the districts without units,
Right, Honorable Speaker, like the Honorable member who raised the issue said, some of the money was released. So these road units are being procured in phases. That is the program that we are moving with.
Honorable members, can we have a status? Can we have a status from Works and Finance on how many road units are being procured? What is the balance for which districts? Honorable members, in the public gallery this afternoon, we have students and teachers from Berkeley High School, that is Uganda district. They are represented by Honorable Mugema Peter Panado. Who is Panado? Panado is, you have one of the best MPs. And then Honorable Sauda Kauma. They are represented. Join me in welcoming them. Then you have a delegation of constituents from Ngora district represented by Honorable Isodo. Stella, you're welcome. Honorable Achayo, Lodo, and Honorable Isamat Abraham. Thank you. Abraham is there. You have very good members of parliament, constituents. So take care of your MPs. Next item.
Item 3.
On the same. So, honorable members, are we going now to discuss on the communication? Kindly bear with me. Bear with me. Bear with me. Let's first move and then I'll give you time. In between there.
Item 3.
Yes, I'll give you. Yes, a procedure from.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, my procedure matter concerns the Sheik Rains that won. Right Honorable Speaker, they played both games away, home and away from the same stadium. Right Honorable Speaker, the other time we observed when the Uganda Cranes also played from home and away. On several occasions, Right Honorable Speaker, the head of state has been here and bailed out to some people. You hear Abubakar, you hear those ones. Right Honorable Speaker, to develop talents in this country, and this country to be proud of the teams that we have, including the Sheik Rains, they must be in position to watch these games from Uganda. Right Honorable Speaker, if the question of Sheik Rains not having a stadium is lack of money, during the supplementary allocation, when we are looking at bidding and giving people money, can we really provide money? Wouldn't it be procedural right? The procedural matter, Right Honorable Speaker, is, wouldn't it be procedurally right, Right Honorable Speaker, as the Minister of Finance prepares the supplementary, to put a portion of money to provide for a stadium for the Sheik Rains so that we stop playing home and away from outside Uganda?
We gave money to Nachivuvu. I mean to Nambole. And because of the pace that they were moving on, I delegated you, your good self, with the leader of opposition, to go and see what was being done. To date, we've not got a report. So how do you expect us to continue giving money when we don't know the progress? So we will not give them money until we have a progress report. Next item.
Item 3.
Yes.
Laying of papers.
Right Honorable Speaker, you had allowed the procedure. Right Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Sechi.
Yes, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise under Rule 7 regarding the powers of the Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, a while ago, actually an hour ago, you directed the Attorney General, the Honorable Attorney General, to be in this House to brief the House about a very critical matter of the LC status. Right Honorable Speaker, we are all here, most of us, as a result of an electoral process, and we hold and we enjoy the legitimacy because of that. And Right Honorable Speaker, the LCs are a big component in the democratization of this country. But when government chooses to gloss over this very critical matter, Right Honorable Speaker, we get concerned. And the Speaker's directives cannot be in vain. Right Honorable Speaker, I find it very strange that members, particularly the lead of government business, the government chief whip, are not putting to bear the Attorney General, even the Minister of Local Government. And how I wish both of them, the Attorney General and the Local Government Minister, could be a product of an election. Then they could understand the rigors that an elected member or elected person goes through.
There's an order here.
Madam Speaker, the Honorable Sechikuwa has been in Parliament. This is his 5th term.
6th.
5th. He has also been here since Parliament started. I mean today. And for every matter that has come here, ministers from Prime Minister are saying the President. Is he in order to demand that ministers who have no answers come here when he knows that every matter must be answered by the President? Is he in order?
Honorable Semujo, I think if there is anybody who loves President Museveni in Uganda, it is Semujo. And it is good to be loved, because you cannot finish a day without mentioning the legal advice of this country is the Attorney General, and that's why we are referring to the Attorney General. So, Sechi is in order.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for your ruling. Is it in order, therefore, Right Honorable Speaker, for government to keep quiet and to allow business to proceed as if it is normal, yet there is a standing directive from the Right Honorable Speaker of this Honorable House that has not been answered? And I'm seeing them ready to proceed to other business without due consideration of your powers in this Honorable House. Is the government in order, therefore, Right Honorable Speaker?
Government.
Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank Honorable Sechikubo for raising such an important matter, whereby other people might think that we don't want to answer or we have no answers, yet we have them. Right Honorable Speaker, I raised the Attorney General.
It's not other people, the Ugandans. We are talking to Ugandans.
Yes, the Ugandans.
The Ugandans who want the LOC ones.
Yes, the Ugandans. I raised the Attorney General. He was still far, but he's coming, except that when he replied that he's coming, it was on my phone. I can even show you that time when I called him. He's on his way coming to report to the issue concerning the LOCs.
Thank you. Honorable members, let's wait. The time will also come. Time will come. Love had something.
Much obliged, Right Honorable Speaker. Briefly on 2 issues. One, the Nambole matter. I'll ask you to reconstitute that committee humbly, because at all times would not get quorum. So probably I'll formally return and then we reconstitute for action. Secondly, I had decided that I would raise this matter in a statement, but seeing the Minister of Defense in plenary, which is rare, I thought I should bring it to the attention of the House.
Honorable Lob, my Minister of Defense is always in the House. If he's not physically here, he's on Zoom.
Yes, Right Honorable Speaker, true. I have seen him several in the committees answering to his question, to questions of his entity, a rare human in the plenary, but I'm glad he's here. And he raises my curiosity for his physical presence. Namely, on the fact that he has informed the country that part of the UPDF is going to be hireable. That the UPDF is going to be constituted into private guards, just like Wagner in Russia. If you have money, you can hire and take on your farm. They can guard your poultry, your cattle for hire. The UPDF, right, Honorable Speaker. So now that the Minister of Defense is here, will you want to explain to the House under what law is it denigrating the sanctity and dignity of the National Army into a force hireable?
Honorable, order is space here.
Right, Honorable Speaker, together with his deputy hovering in, we are aware that the UPDF is a reputable force, and there have been concerns about its deployment severally in Central Africa, in Guinea-Bissau, and other places undeclared, Honorable Speaker. Equatorial Guinea. Honorable Speaker, will the Minister of Defense come clean on a matter that really sounded very ugly, coming at the backdrop of constituting the UPDF into a fishing brigade, because they have now a fishing brigade, away from what we know of the UPDF. So will the Minister of Defense explain what has become of the UPDF for our attention and the understanding of the population as what they're up to?
Honorable Minister, let's first hear from UPDF. No, he's giving information. I am the speaker.
No, the mic is as neutral as UPDF in this house, I believe. Right Honorable Speaker and colleague members, thanks for giving me this opportunity to clarify on this horrible and fury that has been coming out with the coming into scene of yet another subsidiary of the National Enterprise Corporation, the NEC Security Services Limited, to provide security services. I have some information here.
Honorable, do you have a report to that effect?
I have my bullet points, which I believe I could share with you.
Can I look at it, or it is just notes that you have?
Some of it is handwritten, some of it.
So can we ask Ministry of Defense? You give that information to the minister, and then the minister will come and make a presentation tomorrow.
I wanted to provide that information, because we are not talking about the UPDF. We are talking about the National Enterprise Corporation, which is the commercial and business arm of the Ministry of Defense.
Honorable, Honorable,
I oblige.
That is very simple. We understand what you're talking about, but let the minister come and make a presentation to the House. He's a political head.
Much obliged, Right Honorable Speaker. But I want to assure the members that the mighty UPDF is still a very respectable force, admired by the whole world globally.
The procedure.
Madam Speaker, you have made a ruling that the minister comes with a statement tomorrow on this serious matter. Is it procedural right for the minister to continue giving this wrong information instead of waiting and adhering to the rule that tomorrow, such that it comes when it's organized, to present on this matter, which is very serious. So is he proceeding right by continuing when you have made a ruling that he comes tomorrow with a statement after General has briefed him with information?
Honorable members. Next item.
Item 3, laying of papers.
Honorable members, this is pursuant to Rule 33 of the Rules of Procedure, where we will require just the key points and the recommendations to be presented and should be as brief as possible by the persons who are presenting.
Thank you very much.
Laying of papers, reports of the Committee on Foreign Affairs on A, an oversight visit to the Embassy of Uganda in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. B, the oversight visit to the Ugandan mission in Abu Dhabi and the consulate in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. C, oversight visits to the embassies of the Republic of Uganda in Algiers, Algeria, Cairo, Egypt, and Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker and colleagues, members of Parliament. I am here to present a report on the Committee on Foreign Affairs on the oversight visit to the Embassy of Uganda in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And in accordance with Rule 33, Sub-Rule 1 of the Rules of Procedure, I beg to lay a report on the Committee of Foreign Affairs on oversight visit to the Embassy of Uganda in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Mr. Speaker, I beg to play.
Thank you. Please lay.
Honorable Speaker, in accordance to Rule 33, Sub-Rule 2 of our Rules of Procedure, I beg to present a brief summary of the recommendation contained in the report on the oversight visit to the Uganda Commission in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Honorable Speaker and members, the government of Uganda should ensure that products leaving Uganda and destined for Saudi Arabia and any other export destination should meet internationally recognized standards. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and concerned missions should consider budgeting for external labor recruitment challenges. Honorable Speaker and members, among the recommendations, the committee did recommend the government of Uganda should regulate the activities of organizations that organize the travel of Ugandan Muslim pilgrims who perform Hajj, Umrah. The government of Uganda should appoint members on the Joint Technical Committee for bilateral cooperation with immediate effect. Another recommendation that all outstanding memorandum between Uganda and Saudi Arabia must be concluded. Efforts should be made to establish consulates in the countries that are accredited to this mission in order to enhance accessibility to consular services. The Ministry of Finance should limit the budget ceilings upwards or leave the budget open to enable MDAs to responsibly make adequate budget provisions for the planned activities. And lastly, one of the recommendations, Right Honorable Speaker, the government of Uganda should, with immediate effect, raise the allowances for foreign service officers to make them commensurate with the cost of living index in the countries where they are posted. This is on Riyadh as a mission.
Thank you. All this will be deposited to the library for you to get time and peruse through them.
Honorable Speaker, with your permission, I beg to lay committee reports on the oversight visit, the Uganda mission in Abu Dhabi, and the consulate in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay.
Please lay.
Furthermore, Honorable Speaker, in accordance with Rule 33 Sub-Rule 2 of the Rules of Procedure, I beg to present a summary on recommendations by the committee on the report of oversight visit of Abu Dhabi and the consulate in Dubai. Honorable Speaker, among the recommendations of the committee, we did recommend that increased facilitation to the Uganda mission in UAE to cover the wage and non-wage deficit. Secondly, funding for travel abroad for missions abroad must be reinstated to enable them pursue the promotion of economic and commercial diplomacy. Another recommendation, Madam Speaker, increase the capital development budget, and this relates to the need of our own properties at every mission of Uganda abroad. Another recommendation, Madam Speaker, to provide a transition budget to facilitate and cover for urgent mission financial needs between the end of the financial year and the beginning of one. Madam Speaker, we recommend the mission should be accorded immediate authorization to issue emergency travel certificates to enable the emergency repatriation of Ugandans who are in distress. We recommend that we give special consideration to the Uganda mission in UAE for purposes of promotion of economic and commercial diplomacy. The committee also recommends the purchase of a decent representation vehicle for the head of mission. And finally, we recommend that the committee decides to give a special attention to the issue of labor externalization of Uganda workers in UAE, and the standalone report will be presented in due course. Honorable Speaker, I beg to report.
Thank you so much, Chair. Thank you. This is not for debate. Yes. We are depositing this to the library and all of you will have access to it.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, just connected to this, it's good our committee went to the UAE. Madam Speaker, last financial year, we did pass money for the purchase of the vehicle for our ambassador in Washington. But Madam Speaker, to date, first of all, finance did not release the money. The ambassador has no vehicle. Even the one which was there has broken down. This is our main, one of the main missions. So, Madam Speaker, it's not only the UAE where the ambassador or the head of the mission does not have transport. Can we hear from finance why they did not release the money? And a little of government business here, because this is embarrassing to us. The ambassador cannot keep hiring, going on Uber, on Bolt, to the embarrassment of our country. So please, we did our part. We passed the money for Washington. Finance has not sent the money.
We'll need to get a report for all the embassies, not specifically Washington, because all the other embassies are as important as that. So committee, you'll give us information to that effect. And then we make a follow-up with the finance.
Most obliged, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
Honorable Speaker and members, I beg to lay a report to the Committee of Foreign Affairs on the oversight visit to the embassies of Uganda to Algiers, Algeria, Cairo, Egypt, and Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. Right, Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay.
This lay. Thank you.
And allow me proceed on the recommendations for these very important missions. And I'll start with our mission in Algiers. The committee recommends the procurement of appropriate chancery premises in an affluent location. Secondly, capital development budget to enable the embassy capture both the presentation vehicle and utility van, which is lacking in most of our missions. Thirdly, we recommend the recruitment of an education attaché to this mission, as many of our students, actually many of our scholarships come from that mission. The Ministry of Education and Sports should explain why only 40 out of the 120 scholarships offered have been utilized. Annually, we receive 120 scholarships, but surprisingly, only 40 are utilized. The government should, with immediate effect, second or nominate a person of high caliber with the requisite qualification to deputize Algeria as the AFRIPOL. Madam Speaker, this position has been falling vacant since 2020, when one of the officers that was in that position actually retired. So the post is being held in absentia, and we recommend that action be taken immediately. The Minister of Finance and the Minister of Foreign Affairs should submit a request to Parliament to facilitate the change of the erroneously placed 2 billion Uganda shillings that was meant for economic and commercial diplomacy, and this was taken for development budget. Madam Speaker, as you're aware that our foreign missions, one of the key things that are engaged in is the issue of economic and commercial diplomacy. When we don't fund them, we really curtail their work. Our recommendation is also to reinstate facilitation for the travel abroad. These are foreign missions, and most of them have got very many kinds of accreditation. Therefore, they cannot be able to traverse between different countries if they do not have travel abroad budget. So that's one of our requests, Madam Speaker. Need to update and renew the outdated MOUs, sign the pending ones, and ratify the signed treaties and protocols. Madam Speaker, our missions operate through MOUs, and we would not be able to sign them and really update them. Then it curtails the operations of our mission. So this is one of our recommendations, Madam Speaker. Given plans by government of Algiers to import powdered milk from Uganda, the government of Uganda should explore possibilities of signing bilateral air service agreements with a view of enabling both countries to operate cargo flights to and from Entebbe and Algiers. That is what we recommend as a committee. To our mission in Cairo, Madam Speaker, these are some of the recommendations that a committee came up with. The government should urgently locate funds for Uganda's mission in Addis Ababa to facilitate relocation to a more secure place. Madam Speaker, we were guided by the host government that our mission was very secure, and therefore we pray that the ministry takes really very fast action to make sure that our mission is relocated. Government of Uganda should allocate sufficient funds to enable construction of a new single complex that would accommodate both the chancery and the official residence. We also recommend
proceeding.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the chair for the remarks that she's giving, and very timely and a very good information to this House, Right Honorable Speaker. However, Right Honorable Speaker, the Minister for Foreign Affairs is not in the House. We are noting very key issues, Right Honorable Speaker, about our embassies.
What about?
Right Honorable Speaker, I'm talking about the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Right Honorable Speaker. Wouldn't it be procedural right?
Is what? What is it?
Right Honorable Speaker, I don't know all the ministers, Right Honorable Speaker. So let me raise my matter, Right Honorable Speaker. Wouldn't it be procedurally right, Right Honorable Speaker, that the Minister of Foreign Affairs is here personally and himself to listen to this, so that we take care of the issue of our embassies, Right Honorable Speaker?
Honorable members, the papers that are being laid are laid under Rule 33, and we are going to deposit them in the library. The minister can have access to the information that is being provided by the committee. And that's why it is not even subject to debate. Yes, but we have the minister in the House. Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs. Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs. Just assure him that you're a Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Madam Speaker, thank you so much. The Honorable Surwanyi may not just know the nomenclature of the various ministries we have, but I think let me take the opportunity to remind him that in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we have Minister in charge of international cooperation, state, but also we have Minister of Foreign Affairs in charge of regional affairs, and I'm here present. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, Chair, can you finish?
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Procedure.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, okay.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, Rule 33 and 34 talk about laying of reports of parliamentary delegation abroad and committee field reports. But at the same time, they say the Speaker shall appoint time not exceeding 45 minutes for debate. I don't know whether it would be in future or today, Madam Speaker?
Can we first have the papers laid?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for that guidance. One of the recommendations by the committee was that we review and categorize all missions, taking into consideration the prevailing circumstances and locations of particular missions, among other factors. And the last recommendation on this mission was that to motivate the head of mission and mission staff through enhanced remuneration packages, taking into account the volumes of work at the mission. And last, Right Honorable Speaker, the recommendations for our mission in Cairo are as follows. The government should urgently allocate funds for Uganda's mission in Addis Ababa. The government of Uganda should urgently take a decision on whether to buy or rent premises in the new capital city of Egypt. Secondly, the government should board the premises of the Chancery and use the proceeds from the sale of one to acquire new premises in the new administrative district to act as the ambassadors of official residence. Other recommendation is, Madam Speaker, the committee that mission should recruit an education attaché to manage affairs of the community in Egypt and countries of accreditation. The mission, in collaboration with National Identification Registration Authority, that is NIRA, should take deliberate steps to conduct registration and issuance of national identity cards to Ugandan citizens living and working in Cairo. Honorable Speaker and members, the committee recommends that government of Uganda should engage and lobby the Egyptian government to sign a memorandum of understanding to regularize and grant legal status to Ugandan citizens living in Egypt. And last, Madam Speaker, this committee recommends that government of Uganda should negotiate a labor agreement between Uganda and Egypt. In summary, Madam Speaker, this is what we'll be able to present. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. As we have already said, much as Rule 33 really requires that we debate, we give some 45 minutes, but we want a comprehensive report for all the embassies, not only the 3 that you're presenting. So give us a whole report and we discuss and see how to handle early enough before we go into the budgeting process, because most of these issues have financial implications. Next.
Item 4.
Yes, procedure matter.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. 2 procedural issues. Number 1, as she was presenting, she said Cairo, they were informed that Cairo is in a very secure place. But when to say Cairo should be, I think she meant to say insecure, but said secure. It may please you that she corrects that record because she said it's in a very secure place.
It's insecure.
That's what she meant to say, but said a different thing.
Thank you, colleague, for that information. Madam Speaker and colleagues, I meant our mission is in insecure location.
Insecure place, yes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, that's corrected. The other procedural issue that I've been battling to bring to your attention since the House started. Like you rightly said, we many times, often than not actually, meet on Zoom. Some of us meet on Zoom for some reasons. But reading through our rules of procedure, they don't provide very well how a member on Zoom would be able to participate. It even becomes extremely very difficult if the matter involves taking decision when a question is put forward for people to pronounce themselves as in aye or nay. Sometimes, even on ascertaining quorum, the speakers say there's quorum, members are here and others are on Zoom. And there's no way we ascertain the number of people on Zoom to actually be sure that we have quorum. Right Honorable Speaker, would it please your Right Honorable Speaker, I saw you are being engaged. Would it be please your chair that you defer this matter to the Rules Committee to define to us exactly how members on Zoom could participate? I was on Zoom last week. Of course, the procedure of Zoom is that you can even put up a hand. I put up a hand throughout from the beginning to the end. I knew, of course, I wouldn't be noticed, but I was trying to check the system. I even tried to say statement, I'm not going to say here, to check whether we are being followed and I noticed that we are not being followed.
But you can say, no problem. Anyway, Hajat, it's not guesswork that we do on ascertaining quorum. It is on record. We can print for you whenever you want it. Our IT people ascertain for us what is on quorum. If you want to debate on Zoom, a person who can tell you that he debates on Zoom is just behind you. Patrick, don't you? Patrick, have a mic.
Madam Speaker, whenever I'm out of the country, I've been given chance to debate here.
Thank you so much. Next item.
Item 4.
Madam Speaker, I would love to inform you and the House that these reports, the summaries I've just read, actually were deposited with the clerk. The reports are there. And also, secondly, that we have other reports that are ready for oversight missions. We just request you to give us space on that other paper. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Another procedure. Hajat.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Stop harassing Patrick.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, you have asked the chairperson of the committee to bring a comprehensive report when all this are done. All of this are done. I think it would be professional right for us to give the committee. It would be professional right to give a committee the time within which they bring the comprehensive statement. Why am I saying this? Why am I hitching this issue on time? The issue which the chairperson, Honorable Norris, raised, the issue of the ban on or the freeze on travel abroad. Madam Speaker, I think the Minister of Finance did a blanket ban. We're in Mozambique with the Deputy Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker. Our High Commissioner to South Africa that covers that region, Honorable Amur, could not come to receive the Speaker in Maputo. Why? Because Finance has not given them money to go and present their credentials to all the neighboring countries that they cover. So it creates a challenge. So Finance should not have given a blanket ban on the travel abroad, because it also covered that where they're supposed to present their credentials. So that's why I'm saying time should be given within which the committee should bring a report such that we're able to address these issues, such that our ambassadors, especially the new ones, are able to present their credentials. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
But you cannot have a Minister of Foreign Affairs that does not travel. We really need money in Foreign Affairs. You can cut for the rest, but Foreign Affairs needs to travel. Next item. Yes, Enos.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As much as you've said they will bring a report for all the embassies, but there's an important issue that she raised under visas. Embassies, specifically, I'll talk about Cairo, our embassy in Cairo. They receive application for visas, but they cannot issue visas. And this at times it delays people coming into the country. Can the Honorable Minister take it upon himself to check with the embassies? Because the system, yes, they are required to use the system, but at times the system takes so long to approve the visas. Why is it that we cannot look into it, allow possibly up to a certain limit for these embassies to approve visas for travelers who are mostly coming in for tourism?
That's okay. Honorable Minister, take it up, including Saudi. Take it up on those issues.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to ask the chairperson and probably the minister, our missions, wherever our committee chairperson and our committee should pick interest in the commercial diplomacy, at least for every mission, Madam Speaker, when they come here to report, we should know the volumes of trade that comes with those missions. What are we benefiting with those missions being there? And it must come here to Parliament, and every mission should be proud of what they are bringing in to the country. Otherwise, when we just report on the cars they are driving, report on how they are living in a bad environment, really, we may not have good value for money, Madam Speaker. So next time I want to plead to the chairperson.
You need to know the contribution of that to
every mission should contribute, should tell us the contribution every time they are reporting here. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable members, we are going to debate those reports, and Hajat, you check on your Zoom. You will see all the people. I can see Honorable Esther Ambayo, Okumu Gabriel, Noya. I see so many here. I wish you had access to it. Anyway.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Thank you. If I could say
no,
one.
your law wants to clarify on that.
My love, I pray you give me 1 minute. If a question, for example, is put and people are going to say aye and nay.
I want to
I
refer
seek
you,
guidance.
listen, members virtually present in the House refers to a member participating in the proceedings of Parliament outside the chambers of Parliament through designated digital platform, having obtained leave of a speaker and registered with the clerk to appear at least 12 hours before commencing the sitting. And exactly that's what Honorable Shabe and Tim do. You need to inform us that I'll be on Zoom of the speaker. And it is in the rules of procedure.
Most obliged Speaker, my question has been at the time of voting. We have passed laws here. First of all, on ascertainment of quorum, we look around and say plus Zoom, we have quorum. And then the question is put and we decide the matter by aye and nay. How would we pick the voices of people who on Zoom where they have said nay and aye? And in most cases, you might find in such cases, the people who are in the House, the number is so small that it needs to be complemented by the number on Zoom to be considered to be quorum. In such circumstances, how are we going to avoid even litigation? Thank you. My Lord, thank you for
we
giving
had an
space.
orientation on rules at the beginning, and the people who were orienting you on the rules, one of them is just here. You give her information on what you told her. Remind.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. During orientation, unfortunately, some colleagues, they either attended and didn't pay attention, or the excitement of the victory could have overwhelmed them. But all this is the truth. When you've just won, you will all get overwhelmed. It's natural. So we did that with the Honorable Nwagaba, Honorable Medad Segona, and most times, Right Honorable Speaker, I sympathize with you when matters that were obviously discussed during the training is coming out here. And now I'm continuing this. I'm continuing with the lecture on rules. I think.
Let her first stand up. Honorable members, what Honorable OO is saying, let's pay attention to whatever, whenever we have an induction and the rules are there. Let's revise the rules always, whenever we have the time. Can we go to the next item?
Item 4, motion for resolution of Parliament urging government to prioritize interventions to address the challenges of mycotoxin contamination in northern Uganda.
Honorable members, food safety is a vital precondition for good health, and the motion seeks to address the silent challenges facing the grain farmers, not only in northern Uganda, but in the whole country. And we'll give Honorable Jara only 5 minutes, then we'll refer this to the Committee of Agriculture. Honorable members, listen to Honorable Mapendusi. Honorable Mapendusi knows where he belongs.
Okay. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to have this motion for a resolution of Parliament urging government to prioritize interventions to address the challenges of mycotoxin contamination in northern Uganda. And Right Honorable Speaker, I move this motion under Rule 56 of the Rules of Procedure. Right Honorable Speaker, whereas the Food and Agriculture Organization and World Health Organization recognize the worldwide occurrence of mycotoxins in human foods and animal feeds, and whereas mycotoxins are secondary fungal metabolites with toxic effects to humans and animals, and in terms of exposure to chronic diseases, mycotoxins pose high risk of infections. Aware that mycotoxins such as aflatoxin compromises the quality of grains and produce and affects Uganda's competitiveness in the regional and global market, noting that staple foods produced in Uganda are highly susceptible to infection by toxigenic fungi and several environmental factors, are in favor of developing toxigenic fungi during the field period, the time of harvest, or during storage. Noting further that research conducted by Gulu University indicates that mycotoxin contamination is a large food safety issue in northern Uganda, and about 90% of grain produced from northern Uganda are contaminated and partly responsible for the high prevalence rate of hepatitis B and liver cancer in the region. And the situation has been made worse due to limited surveillance. Aware that the food grains are produced in northern Uganda are mainly sorghum, maize, millet, and rice, and also granules, which are legumes, are also widely grown in the region, but highly susceptible to mycotoxin contamination. Apprehensive that there is limited public awareness on mycotoxin contamination of foods and its toxicity burden among farmers in northern Uganda, poor pre- and post-harvest agricultural practices are common among the local farmers in the region that expose the grains to high mycotoxin contamination. Apprehensive further, Right Honorable Speaker, that heavy dietary reliance by the people of northern Uganda on locally produced staple food that is highly susceptible to mycotoxin contamination exacerbates the problem of mycotoxin contamination for many small-scale farmers in the community, appreciating that with funding from Belarus Belgium government program, Gulu University has established mycotoxin testing lab with GC, HPLC, PCR, and ELISA tools to support surveillance of mycotoxin contamination in the region of Uganda and the country at large. Hopeful that the control and prevention of mycotoxin contamination shall encourage farmers to practice crop rotation, proper drying of grains before storage, avoid grain storage in damped or moist areas, timely harvest of crops, avoid pest infestation and damage of grains during storage, use of fungicides, and planting of improved variety of seeds. Confident that the prevention of mycotoxin contamination shall address the 4 pillars of integrated mycotoxin contamination management that involves a knowledge on prevention, avoiding, monitoring, predicting, interventions, and suppression using chemicals. Cognition that in order to address the challenges of mycotoxin contamination experienced in northern Uganda, there is need for a collective will and commitment from different stakeholders, including government agencies, politicians, religious and cultural leaders, farmers, small and large-scale trailers, health and agricultural and extension services, as well as development partners. Now, therefore, be it resolved by this Parliament that 1, prioritize support towards post-harvest handling and management. 2, to provide support to farmers in northern Uganda and the country at large to exercise good agricultural practices, and especially to practice prevention of mycotoxins at pre- and post-harvest level. 3, provide support to Gulu University Multifunctional Laboratory to scale up mycotoxin testing, surveillance, dissemination, and measures to reduce on the burden of mycotoxins and associated implications. Finally, strengthen the regulatory framework on the quality of food in line with safety and health standards. I beg to move, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you so much. Is it seconded? Seconded by Dr. Bedi, by Afanda Anya. By Afanda, I don't want to, by Dokolo, by Akol, by OO, Honorable OO, the minister, by the whole house. Yes, would you love to speak to your motion?
Right Honorable Speaker, I am grateful that this Parliament is in full recognition of the dangers of mycotoxin contamination. Recently, Right Honorable Speaker, in this same house, there were discussions on goods that had been impounded in South Sudan when our traders went to conduct business, and these impounded goods were majorly because of the contamination, mycotoxin contamination. Right Honorable Speaker, as the medics or the scientists have indicated, the contamination leads to several other effects, very harmful effects. And just to throw more light, part of the reason we have very high prevalence rate of hepatitis B in northern Uganda and the country, and just to give a breakdown, the scientists are indicating that currently northern Uganda alone has hepatitis B prevalence rates of between 6 to 12%. Now, Acholi sub-region alone stands at 18.5 to 23.9%. And Uganda as a country generally stands at about 4.3%. This is serious, and we need to take immediate intervention. The other thing, Right Honorable Speaker, we are also aware that globally, issues of liver cancer on a global scale stands at about 78%, and it's majorly related to issues of hepatitis B as a secondary matter. And I therefore, Right Honorable Speaker, would plead with this Honorable House that government takes these matters very seriously, and especially the farmers who are struggling. Our farmers are struggling so much. We are talking about scaling up productivity and production. We are talking about fighting poverty, but we cannot do much unless we begin to put in place the things that would enhance the farmers to productively get involved in these agricultural activities. So I want to say thank you for the recognition that this is a matter that needs urgent attention by this Parliament. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Honorable Akol. Yes.
Right Honorable Speaker, I want to appreciate.
Are you seconding or you? If you're seconding, you say you're seconding.
Right Honorable Speaker.
No, you'll second after him. Yes, Honorable Akol.
Right Honorable Speaker, I rise to second the motion with amendment that it should cover the whole country. Right Honorable Speaker, when we are talking a bit about this problem, this involves what we eat. And even just yesterday, but one, if we have been reading, there are some trucks that Uganda Bureau of Standards were tracking and following that they were going to South Sudan. And obviously this food that has been contaminated that we are talking about is not majorly coming from northern Uganda. Some of them come from eastern Uganda, central Uganda, and western Uganda. And when we are talking about this problem, we are talking about cancer generally, not only liver cancer. And if you look at the problem of cancer in Uganda now, then there is a high possibility that we need to actually increase the implementation to make sure we control. Not only now, but I think even in the 10th Parliament, we had problem with our neighbor Kenya, whereby Kenya was actually stopping even grains from Uganda to cross to Kenya. Now, when you look at what has happened recently, especially in South Sudan, you compare the South Sudan with Uganda, the standard where we've come from, and this is a young nation trying to control food consumption in their country. And therefore, if we cannot do that much as a country, Uganda, all of us, we are eating grains on a daily basis, and the effect on all of us, and therefore, Right Honorable Speaker, I think this is the right time for this parliament and the government to take serious action for what we eat. This does not affect only animals, I mean human beings, but also animals. And at the end of the day, we are also eating the animals that also eat this same grain that are affected. And therefore, I actually request members to support this motion, and really we need to work hard as this parliament and this country to work on this particular problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bed.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise to second the motion. Right Honorable Speaker, the issue of the mycotoxins in the foods and in this country is a serious issue. There are many types of mycotoxins. Aflatoxin is one of them. These aflatoxins, apart from that, they damage the liver and many other organs of the body. They also curtail the synthesis of proteins. They also affect the immunity of the receivers. They are very dangerous, not only to the humans, but also to the animals. And the human being, they end up consuming the products, the livestock products, the animal products, and they become very susceptible. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to support the motion that government of Uganda pays attention to this mycotoxin. Right Honorable Speaker, as we are talking on the food safety issues, I want to remind this parliament that in the last planting season, under your able leadership as the speaker, you guided this parliament and we directed the Minister of Finance to provide 4 billion shillings for seeds for the farmers in the constituencies. Now that the Minister of Agriculture is here and the rains have come in, this parliament should be assured whether the seeds are ready for our constituencies. Those seeds, Right Honorable Speaker, it is one way that this government and this parliament can secure food security for our people. Our people are waiting, Right Honorable Speaker, and they are very proud about you. They always listen. Even the last season, they listened. They said that our speaker, she's always concerned with the issues that affect us. I want to implore you, Right Honorable Speaker, that since the Minister of Agriculture and Finance, they are here, they should appraise this parliament whether the seeds are ready for this season. The rains have begun, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bedi. Honorable members, we are not going to take time on this topic, on this motion. I want Dr. Aboka, Dr. Buka, Abuka.
Dr. Boka.
Both.
Thank you.
First, Dr. Boka, Dr. Buka.
It's Dr. Boka. Thank you so much, Madam
I know
Speaker.
all your names. I know what I mean. I'm saying you start with Dr. Boka and come with Dr. Buka.
I thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support the motion. I want to start by a clarification between aflatoxin, mycotoxin, and hepatitis B. Hepatitis B is a viral infection. So it's a note for the record that should be corrected. It's not a mycotoxin. Having mentioned that, Madam Speaker and honorable colleagues, this issue has come to the August House because of trade. But the matter at hand has a public health connotation. That's why the World Health Organization is concerned about it. It's any issue that affects the health and well-being of our citizens. I would like to pray that one, the Minister of Health be brought on board in this. We need as a country to look into our legal and regulatory framework related to drugs and food toxicity assessment and surveillance. Secondly, we need to create awareness in our communities about the health dangers of mycotoxins and aflatoxins, how to prevent, how to detect, and how to provide appropriate treatment and care. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Booker. Honorable members will bring the Minister of Health in this. We are going to refer this motion to the committee because the issues that are being raised are very important. We will not only limit it to Northern Uganda.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support with amendment the motion. The agricultural sector engages almost all Ugandans in profitable activities. So this is a very important topic. The motion addresses just a small part of a very big problem, which is the problem of storage, which results, poor storage, which results into mycotoxin. What we do need as a country is what other countries, rival countries like Kenya and Tanzania are doing. They have a whole board or authority on cereals.
Government Chief Webb, can we have some order around your place, your people?
We need a national cereals and other produce board and authority whereby the issue of aflatoxin, grading of produce and standards can be applied in a department. Tanzania has a board, Kenya has got a board. They have got silos all over the regions for storing and grading produce. We had produce marketing board in this country. I don't see it. This is part of the problem. So let us not just zero on aflatoxin, which is a small portion of a big problem of agricultural produce, which is not handled properly. My prayer is that we wait and listen to my proposal in a private member's bill entitled that the country takes into account forming a board or a serious board, just like the other countries which we are rivaling with. I'm in the process of doing that, and I will beg the House to give me an opportunity.
Honorable Doctor.
Thank you.
Doctor will not wait for your bill. The motion is seeking to prioritize the intervention.
I support it.
Even when you have the bill, we'll always seek government to make a priority of what is being said. So we come with your bill, that is okay.
Oblige, Madam Chair, Madam Speaker.
And honorable members, the issue that is being raised is a very important issue. It affects the health. And much as they say, it affects business, but most importantly, it affects the health of our people. And what we need to do is to have a national evaluation together with the stakeholders on the food safety. We need a national evaluation. And then we also need to see the post-harvest handling, how the post-harvest handling is being handled. Then we need to look at the existing safeguards that we have and see how best we can improve them and what needs to be done. And based on that, I don't think this House can get for us all of that within a minute. We will hear from the minister. Yes. You have you're giving information on this, and then you're also giving information on the seeds. You're giving information on the seeds and the plan you have for the horse.
Thank you, Right Honorable. I want to thank the Honorable
Mapenduzi for the motion. I support it 100%. And I know, Madam Speaker, you've guided. You want the relevant committee to study it. We shall fully participate. The only information I want to give to the House, already the Committee of Agriculture is aware. The National Agricultural Research Organization did an innovation. You see, mycotoxins produce aflatoxins, which affect our food. So narrow, the good news we have is that it produced a solution called Afrosafe for the aflatoxins. But they have suffered inadequate funding to multiply it and produce it. So I pray that when you go to interact in the committee, you invite us and we lead the narrow to come with this solution and explain how it will cure the problem. So I want to thank our scientists because they are working. Then on the seeds, Madam Speaker, when we work together, we all win. I am ready to work with you the way we did to get the seeds. On the hose, we can still work together the way we work together and we can all win. I thank you.
Honorable members, the minister is, Minister is ready to work with the House. Work with the House to get the seats and the hose. I am referring this matter to this motion to Committee of Agriculture and Health, and report back in 2 months' time. Yes, the planting season. Yes.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. And we're having a very serious matter, Right Honorable Speaker. But the point of order I'm raising, Right Honorable Speaker, I've been here with Honorable Frank Tumwebaze as a honorable member and now as a minister. He's known to be putting on decently. But of recent, people have degenerated. I know there is always the Mandela attire, but the smart Frank Tumwebaze is not the one who is here appearing casually as if he's putting on an evening wear, and some of us cannot even see him.
Honorable members, Honorable Frank Tumwebaze is putting on the Mandela shirt, a multi-million Mandela shirt. He's actually smarter than you. Honorable Minister of Agriculture, you were on committee. Much as we are defending you on being smart, the Minister of Finance has come back. You are on committee. It is time for planting. We want seeds in our constituencies. Yes, we want seeds. Minister of Finance. Actually, people in the minister's constituency even need seeds more. In Kavale. Honorable Minister, Agriculture and Finance, we need seeds. If you tell us you're coming back to report in 2 days, we can wait 2 days. But just tell us what we should do. We want seeds. Henry.
Madam Speaker.
Henry, you have seen how important you are. We had to wait for you to come back.
Madam Speaker, we are going to sit with the Minister of Agriculture.
Yes.
We look into the matter and report back to the House.
Thank you. Report back on Thursday. Report back on Thursday. Next item.
Item 5.
Yes. Procedure.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. Right Honorable Speaker, some time back I raised the matter concerning fake agricultural inputs. And you directed the minister. By that time, Ramirama was the one in the house. You
Honorable Rabirama,
Honorable Minister Ramirama, you directed him to bring the statement concerning agricultural inputs. Honorable Speaker, my farmers in Nakaseke, they are suffering with fake fertilizers, fake pests, and pesticides.
pesticides.
So sorry. Fake pesticides. Isn't it procedure right? As the minister,
Honorable members, Honorable Babiku, I want you to contribute in the next item. Come back. This is on issues of presidential. Yes.
Honorable Speaker, isn't it procedure right that good enough the Minister for Agriculture is here to bring a statement concerning these fake agricultural inputs, as you directed some time back that should bring this report in 2 months, but it's coming almost to 6 months. This report is not being brought at the floor parliament. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, Honorable Vice President, you're welcome. You've come at the right time when we are going to discuss your issues of thanking the president. Yes, that is the one we are going for now. So, agriculture.
Honorable Speaker, with your indulgence, we can bring a paper on the efforts we are having in trying to control the fake, the pesticides, acaricides, and the challenges we are facing. It's largely an issue of sensitization and enforcement, but we can present a statement in about a week's time with your permission. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's get a statement to that effect. Can we go to the next item?
Item 5, motion for resolution of Parliament to appreciate His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda for the clear and precise exposition of government policy contained in the State of the Nation address to the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda on Wednesday, 7th June 2023.
Honorable members, this motion was debated during the week of 4th to 6th July 2023. During the debate, we had salient issues. The need to boost household productivity for the greater self-sustainability and commercialization of agriculture, the value addition in agriculture to boost the market competitiveness, progressive growth of the service sector and the SMEs, the national unity as a catalyst for national and development, the need for more robust and infrastructure development, the need to continue attracting foreign direct investment, the fight against terrorism through building internal security capacity and regional and multi collaboration, the need to devote more resources to scale up the parish development model, the need to improve on the social service delivery, and then they need to pacify the Democratic Republic of Congo, and the need for climate change. In furtherance to Rule 53(1) of the Rules of Procedure, the leader of opposition is to give a rebuttal on what was discussed. And now we are going to get a rebuttal from a leader of opposition. If any of you is willing to respond to what or not agree with what the leader of opposition is saying, you will still be given some little time, and then we put the question. Today we must finish that motion. Leader of opposition. And we've been able to wait because the leader of opposition requested for more time. That's why we've had to come in today.
Much obliged, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, protect me from the menacing eyes of the Honorable both. Menacing, looking at me and trying to intimidate me and Adalat this afternoon.
Order.
Right Honorable Speaker, is it in order for the leader of opposition to oppose the way God created me handsomely? Right Honorable Speaker, I know that he opposes everything, but must he oppose the wonderful, handsome face of both? Is in order.
Of course, the most handsome person in the whole of Eastern Uganda is Honorable O.O. So everybody will always admire him. He's not in order.
Right Honorable Speaker, I actually concede. I was looking at him admirably, and then he menacingly looked at me. That's why I raised it to your attention. Right Honorable Speaker, I thank you for your kind indulgence.
Yes, procedure matter.
This particular response.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honorable Leader of Opposition, we do not have your report uploaded, so we don't know how we are going to follow you without a soft copy of your report.
Right Honorable Speaker, this document was received in the clerk's office on 13th of this month, and it should have been uploaded a generation ago. It's not there, then we need to find out why. It was long received, and I apologize to the member it's not there, but it was really brought to the attention of officialdom for uploading.
Is there? Yeah, the problem is honorable members, as we wait to confirm, there is a network problem. Lob can continue reading his report.
Much obliged, Right Honorable Speaker. Allow me to share a copy with the Right Honorable Speaker
With the VP.
and the Right Honorable Vice President.
She's not a right honorable vice president. She's
I beg your pardon, Right Honorable Speaker.
Excellence.
Her Excellency is much appreciated, and I apologize. Let her not pick the insinuations of OO again.
Thank you so much, Lob.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
No, he's going to make a summary of whatever he's presenting. Just like I made a summary of what you presented, he's also going to make a summary.
Right Honorable Speaker, the President of the Republic spoke for half a day. I don't need half an hour to make my response. So I invite members to exercise patience and restraint to give the views of 5 million voters that voted with me. Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, on 7th June this year, the President delivered the State of the Nation Address 2023, to which I'm enjoined to respond under Rule 53 of our Rules of Procedure. Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, while the State of the Nation Address is a constitutional obligation and the yearly tradition detailing the status of the country and unveiling the government's agenda for the coming year, it is unfortunate, rather, that in many respects, we refer to it as a ritual of sorts. We therefore indisputably express our disappointment that for a country that has been hollowed out by gross abuse of human rights over the last couple of years, engrossed in runaway corruption and a general decline in the standard of living and malfeasancy, no concrete policy direction to address the pressing needs of the citizenry was presented. A crisis of this nature, Right Honourable Speaker, demands an urgent action and sound leadership and direction. Right Honourable Speaker, on March 31st, 2023, we presented at the opposition budget conference themed Rethinking Uganda's Economy, a human rights approach, in which we outlined our key budget priorities and the policy alternatives. I wish to appraise this House that I have since been on the trail on a countrywide oversight, Right Honourable Speaker, monitoring the extent of implementation of key government programs as mandated of me by the Constitution and our rules of procedure. I will, at an opportune moment, exhaustively report to this House on my key findings. In the same light, Right Honourable Speaker, more in doing than departing from the arbitrary norm, this year, the opposition in Parliament opts to respond by highlighting the prevailing state of affairs vis-a-vis what the President presented. Therefore, Right Honourable Speaker, the Lopez response has taken a human rights-based approach to the nation's state of affairs and development. Right Honourable Speaker and honourable colleagues, we are guided by the unquestionable truth that human rights embody the key values of freedom, fairness, dignity, equality, and respect. They are valid as they guarantee freedom of choice and expression and the rights to basic needs necessary for full development and enjoyment of rights, including education, water, sanitation, food, health, and housing. They are an important means of protection for us all, especially those who may face abuse, neglect, and isolation by people or entities that are more powerful. Furthermore, Right Honourable Speaker, human rights inform the relationship that exists between individuals and their governments, distinguishing between every human being and governmental and non-governmental actors obligated to respect, protect, and fulfill these rights. Sadly, Right Honourable Speaker, the sitting government has failed to address the pressing needs of our society, which ultimately tantamount to the abuse of human rights and fundamental freedoms, which include the right to decide who shall govern the people of Uganda and how they should be governed, that is, through regular, free, and fair elections of their representatives. And on a valid and current note, Right Honourable Speaker, the ugly reality of malpractice in the recent by-elections in Oyam North is still fresh in our minds, as it is disturbing. This is in light of the fact that our kin in the neighborhood in Omoro just a year ago are still aghast at how the military could shamelessly visit violence on the unarmed voters at Logi, just to ensure that a candidate with sympathy from the powers that be wins an election to replace a noble man.
Law. Honorable members, check, it's uploaded under statements. Okay, you can continue. That
a man favored wins to replace a noble man, the Right Honourable Speaker. The script that the government has recurrently read from has formed the cast a grim theater in Kayunga, and recently in what here of Bukedia, Right Honourable Speaker. The ghastly strain on the state of democracy undermines the principle that holding regular, free, and fair elections is the hallmark of building a democratic society, especially that we feature very embarrassingly on this front as a country. It is concrete proof of the failure by government to offer and manage the best cover election and a vote of no confidence in the government and its rhetoric that democracy can be a principle of reference in Uganda. The wanton electoral irregularities like about staffing, voter bribery, and use of force and intimidation by security operatives and other government officials exhibit a high degree of primitivity. We therefore re-emphasize the need for constitutional and electoral reforms targeted at enhancing democracy, the rule of law, and constitutionalism in the country. It is therefore our considered belief and conviction that the policy platform of the nation at any single moment should aspire to uphold its tailored standards of conformity to globally acceptable levels of human rights. This is if we're to be true, the fact that we are signatory to a plethora of international instruments on human rights, where we should be seen to walk the talk. Right, Honourable Speaker, I will outline briefly in the next moment our key observations and the departures, including comments on a few issues pertaining to the state of the nation. First, the right to life. Honourable Speaker, the right to life is a fundamental right, whereby without it, the enjoyment of other rights is not possible. As a minimum, the right to life imposes upon states the duty to abstain from arbitrarily killing individuals under their jurisdiction. The paradigm violations of the right to life are the extrajudicial executions undertook as killings that are committed, condoned, or acquiesced by governments. We are disheartened by a number of people who have been killed under the watch of the state. I will list some of the killings that have remained unaccounted for and uninvestigated, yet the government operatives had direct link to these atrocities. We shall not relent in reminding ourselves, Right Honourable Speaker, and demanding a report of the infamous November 2020 shootings, where many people, over 54, lost their lives. Scores were maimed and are still nursing grave injuries without any support from the government. Even the promised selective compensation for the victims and their families has never materialized. Let Honourable Speaker, will remember the president saying that the victims have classifications. There are those that are innocent, will be compensated. There are those that were directly involved. He gave them a description that does not require our record. Nothing like compensation has ever materialized, Right Honourable Speaker, meaning that it was political rhetoric. Additionally, Right Honourable Speaker, many citizens were killed and others injured while on campaign trail for the new party president, I was correct, who was contesting for presidency in 2021. I have listed those who were killed, starting with his bodyguard, Saint Teresa Kalibala, who was buried in my constituency. He was killed in broad daylight at Usega. We actually have on record a military vehicle that knocked him deliberately. No investigation, no report. He is somebody's son and somebody's father. Michael Kalinda, Rita Nabukenya, Daniel Cheyune, Ibrahim Mutasa, Wile Kayondo, Sophie Kusasira, Beka Kato, short from Namlanda, Martin Uwekiche, Tusubia Elijah, Mukibe Elijah of Luwelo, Omar Lusema Kula of Entebbe, Katwere Kimuli of Seta, Msi Alan of Mukono, Peter Mwanji of Nansana, Mugerwa William of Wankulukuku, Batio Sophie of Obongi, Alioni Nobert of Obongi, Fungaro Moro of Obongi, Shaba Safiti of Obongi, Akim Abire of Obongi, deliberately drowned by the army on 15th January 2021. No investigation, no report. The family has information on the participants, nothing. These are records on our face. The president ought to have spoken about these violations and offered the nation hope. He was mute. Is he an accomplice or not aware? That Honorable Speaker and comrades, under a human rights compliant state, the obligation to respect the right to life goes beyond restraining and refraining from intentional and unlawful deprivation of life. The state must take appropriate steps to safeguard the lives of those within its jurisdiction. This includes measures aimed at controlling and limiting the circumstances in which state agents may use firearms to, in some cases, the provision of some commodities to keep one alive. It was last year that thousands starved to death in Karamoja. The relief purportedly advanced to them was nothing but dummies and superficial. Up to now, families in Karamoja are still starving. That's a denial of a right to life. The state has a duty to the people of Karamoja to have food. Honorable Speaker, in another dimension, it should be noted that enforced disappearances have no place in countries where the state upholds the right to life. It is hard to discern that 3 years now, the government has failed to account for citizens abducted by security operatives moving in drones on different dates between 2019 and 2021. We have made statements here, Right Honorable Speaker, as you recollect, at your permission and elsewhere. We have secured writs of habeas corpus against security agencies. I have repeatedly followed this matter with the Prime Minister and the Minister for Security and Defense, but regrettably, their responses are just explanations, but no consequence. Under normal circumstances, Right Honorable Speaker, expeditious investigations would have been conducted into these disappearances. But alas, we are fed on horror undertakings by the executive, while our people continue disappearing mysteriously. On record, again, the following are missing persons under this regime. Kirama John Bosco was abducted from Kanyanya on 3rd June 2021. The Prime Minister of the Republic, Right Honorable Speaker, informed the country that she knows where Chibarama is. It's 4 years since his disappearance. With your permission, we played a record of her speech in Parliament here, committing knowledge of the whereabouts of Chibarama. So I want to reinform this House that the Prime Minister of the Republic has knowledge of the whereabouts of Mr. Chibarama. The family and the 3 children want their father. The wife wants to see her husband. I hope the Prime Minister from Kigali will come and take us where Chibarama is. It was her commitment that she knows where Chibarama is. 2, Semudu Michael, abducted from Kasubi on 28th November 2020. Damulira John, from Kiseka Market on 21st December 2020. Mbabas Moses, from Seka Market on 26th November 2020. Nalumoso Vincent, from Mugorobi on 1st December 2020. Lukwago Martin, from Mugorobi on 3rd November 2020. Kanata Mohammed, from Mokono on 23rd December 2020. For the record, Honorable Speaker, Kanata Mohammed was one of the personal assistants of the Honorable Chonoka Abdallah. He's taking care of the family, educating children of Kanata since 2020. He disappeared up to now. Sempija Yuda, abducted from Mukono on 19th December 2020. Musimbowa from Kisenyi on 18th December 2020. Kiria Peter from Nansan on 1st December 2020. Wangolo Shafik, Nansan on 3rd December 2020. Zimula Dennis, Nansan on 25th November 2020. Ruemba Mustafa, Nansan on 19th November 2020. Mubiru Hassan, Kawala, 20th November 2020. Cesars Isma, Makinde, 19th November 2020. Kisembo Godfrey, Mubende Town, 12th February 2021. George Kasumba, Chotela, 19th January 2021. Baguma Joseph, Chebando, December 2020. I was in Chotela 3 weeks ago, Right Honorable Speaker. The family raised this matter with me of the disappearance of their son, and nobody has ever visited them from government for an explanation, neither police for information. These are very harrowing situations, National Speaker. And you expect the head of state in this kind of, because the head of state on a state of the nation address has space for assurance of victims and assurance of investigation, at least to hazard an investigation, National Speaker. 2, the right to freedom from torture, inhuman and degrading treatment. Article 24 of the Constitution of Uganda prohibits torture, cruel, inhuman, degrading treatment, right, Honourable Speaker, and punishment. This is one of the rights that are absolute and may not be subject to any exemption, even in times of war or emergency. Article 44A of the Constitution provides for non-derogable delegation of the right of freedom from torture and cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment, thus making this fundamental right absolute. The absolute prohibition of torture is set out in several international human rights treaties. For instance, the UN Convention Against Torture, to which Uganda ratified in 1986. The African Center for Treatment and Rehabilitation of Torture Victims issued a report in 2021 indicating that they registered more than 1,000 cases of torture and violence in Uganda, out of which 371 were committed by Uganda People's Defense Forces, 126 by the police. Acts of torture and degrading treatment have continued to surface, mostly perpetrated by security machinery, police, and the military repeatedly employed torture against political opponents of government in power, ordinary citizens accused of supporting rebel groups, as well as suspected common criminals. Victims are usually severely beaten with rifle butts, sticks, electrical cables, and other objects. According to Uganda Human Rights Commission, in their 25th annual report, violation of freedom from torture topped human rights abuses across the country at 36% of all complaints received. I would like to draw our attention, Mr. Speaker, to the horrid incident that happened at Sheikh Kamoga's residence, which we all saw in early June 2023. Police officers were captured on video, indiscriminately beating up and torturing teenagers who were suspected to be attending radicalization classes. They were suspects beaten, dehumanized, and tortured. Somehow life goes on in Uganda. Comrades, women and members of parliament were unimaginably manhandled just outside this building, where they peacefully marched towards the Ministry of Internal Affairs, following brutal foiling of Women's Day celebrations. Right, Honourable Speaker and colleagues, we want to thank you for the way you've handled that, and I hope it was a lesson to all and sundry in dealing with basic rights of citizens and especially leaders. Right, Honourable Speaker, 3, the right to due process. And I will quote Psalms 82, verses 3 to 4. Defend the poor and the fatherless. Do justice to the poor and afflicted and the needy. Deliver the poor and the needy. Free them from the hands of the wicked. I will comment on the judiciary's role in advancing social justice in that area or other causes for public good. Courts of law, being the last bastion of human rights, have a task to make basic human rights meaningful to the deprived and vulnerable sections of the community. I will quote the words of Professor Joy Oloko Nyango in his book titled, When Courts Do Politics, Public Interest Law and Litigation in East Africa, where he stated that in matters regarding social justice, courts must decide whether to pursue a course known as judicial activism or hold themselves back in a posture of its opposite, otherwise known as judicial restraint. In most cases, Honourable Speaker, our courts of law have opted for restraint by either denying the citizens the right to a fair trial or the right to an effective remedy. We have witnessed situations where citizens are unjustifiably denied bail, prolonged pretrial detentions, and case backlogs. In worst case scenarios, some cases are dismissed on technicalities. Wholesomely, Right Honorable Speaker, the conduct of the judiciary has essentially rendered justice of little use. In my view, a citizen whose constitutional rights are regularly trampled upon must not be turned away from the court by procedural hiccups. Once a complaint is arguable, a way must be found to accommodate him or her so that other citizens become knowledgeable of their rights. We need a bold and courageous judiciary to take the challenge of public interest litigation and through judicial activism give vitality to the Constitution and meaning to human rights. Last year, Right Honorable Speaker, I brought to the attention of the House the internal bickerings and controversies in the judiciary, which have disfigured the expectations of the quality of justice. The situation has not changed for the better. To date, there are still apparent mistreatments of some judicial officers and staff. These controversies have not only violated victims' rights, but also preoccupied the judiciary and deflected the judiciary from attaining to its core mandate. My clarion call to the judiciary is to rise to the occasion and uphold the right to due process in its full sense. 4, freedom to expression and media freedom. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to quote the former and late UN Secretary General Kofi Annan in 1999, who recognized the role of free media involvement by stating that press freedom is a cornerstone of human rights. It holds governments responsible for their acts and serves as a warning to all that impunity is an illusion. It advances knowledge and understanding within and between countries. It helps peoples everywhere appreciate what unites us and not what divides us. Right Honorable Speaker, close of quote. It is our observation that in Uganda, there are various legal and extra-legal mechanisms that restrict media freedom against national, regional, and international protocols on freedom of expression. Uganda's legal and policy framework springs from Article 29A of the Constitution, which states that every person shall have the right to freedom of speech and expression, which shall include freedom of press and other media. The textual framework of the said constitutional provision was drawn from the international legal instruments to which Uganda is a signatory, via the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, the Convention Against Torture and other forms of cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment, as well as the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. The practical application of the right of expression and media freedom has been subjected to restrictions and limitations. Right Honorable Speaker, trying to summarize, they said, will, as the opposition in this session, continue defending and promoting freedom of expression and media freedom through advocacy on different fora, legal reforms we intend to propose, and the capacity building of stakeholders to uphold media freedom as the tenet of our civilization. 5, the rights relating to labor. Article 23 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights sets out the right to work, the right to equal pay for equal work, and the just and favorable remuneration. And Article 24 provides that everyone has the right to rest and leisure, reasonable limitations of working hours, as well as periodic holidays with pay. Article 6A and 7A of the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights develop these rights further with regard to the right to work and its essential corollary, just favorable conditions of work. I will be specific on more pressing issues, Right Honorable Speaker, to our citizens. The issue of minimum wage has remained on the fence for a long time. The government, particularly the president, has quite vocally expressed hesitancy and even aversion towards the call for a minimum wage. Honorable colleagues, it is imperative for us to take the lead in awakening the debate on the minimum wage for the minimum wage to address the plight of workers in this country. Let us not go down in history as a parliament that remained oblivious and aloof to this critical challenge facing the country's labor force. Secondly, it is imprudent for us to pass laws just for the record purposes. Our citizens are not working in safe and healthy conditions as envisaged under the Occupational Safety and Health Act 206. The government has abdicated its role of inspecting workplaces on matters concerning occupational safety and health, welfare, and working environment. The citizens are working under horrible conditions and beyond reasonable working hours, which has significantly undermined their right to a quality life. Right, Honourable Speaker, it's not uhuru even for those who work beyond our borders, that like we have witnessed in the various statements of people working abroad. 6, the right to a clean and healthy environment. Right, Honourable Speaker, the United Nations recognizes access to safe, clean health and sustainable environment as a fundamental human right. Unfortunately, in Uganda, poor sanitation and hygiene, as well as unequal access to safe drinking water, have put millions of people at the risk of exposure to waterborne diseases and even death. Overexploitation of our natural resources is increasingly leading to environmental degradation and contributing to reduced ecosystem services and disasters. The 2020 World Bank Climate Risk Profile for Uganda indicates that an average of 200,000 Ugandans is affected each year by environment-related disasters. The country has continued to experience destructive floods, whose effects have been visible in low-lying areas, especially in degraded wetland areas. We also saw what happened in Katonga, Right Honourable Speaker, and other places. Right Honourable Speaker, the government has formulated a number of policies to regulate land use and the impact of human activities on the environment. However, the alarming rate at which natural resources are being depleted shows that these laws and policies are not enforced effectively. It is regrettable that the government continues to selectively apply the said laws against the poor people and those without connections, while sparing and protecting the rich who encroach on tracts of wetlands and forests across the country with impunity. We have had debates of rice growers, the poor communities, and the rich freely growing rice, while the poor must leave the wetlands. So the laws being applied inequitably, Right Honourable Speaker, eventually affecting the environment. The right to health, Right Honourable Speaker, is number 7. Health is both a human right in itself and an essential means for the realization of other human rights. Unfortunately, in Uganda, the rot in health in our healthcare system deteriorates every day. It is characterized by very low wages of health workers, shortage of health workers, inadequate supplies of medicines, sundries, and essential equipment in government facilities, insufficient hospital beds, and poor accessibility to health facilities. Not only Speaker, I could have spoken more about this. I have a big report on my oversight visits on government health facilities. And we have had the warning by health workers of an impending strike. They have given a warning in 15 days. I actually thought that a serious government would have made a report to Parliament about this warning. But of course, the government is dozing on duty. The poor will suffer when this strike announced 15 days ahead happens. But Honourable Speaker, the right to education. Article 30 guarantees all persons the right to education. And Article 34(2) enshrines the child's right to basic education. The national objective and the principles of state policy, especially policy 26, 28, obligate the state to provide free and compulsory basic education and to take measures to ensure that every citizen can attain the highest standard of education possible. However, despite this mandate, the country continues to be plagued with myriad of challenges. The education sector grapples with high levels of teacher and pupil student absenteeism, weak school level management structures, inadequate learning materials, understaffing, overcrowded classrooms, and lack of accommodation for teachers. But Honourable Speaker, I have made an inquest with my team on the sector, And we are going to provide an independent report on education. I do not know whether my constituency is unlucky and the honorable members come from privileged constituencies. If we do not wake up about education, I want to assure this House, Honorable Speaker, we are in dire straits. In this century, you find people sitting on rocks and huge stones in classes. Schools without toilets. Teachers without toilets. Schools in mud and water, and they are government schools. Schools, government schools without teachers. I was in Bovuma, a government primary school has one teacher. Honorable Speaker. 7, the right to property. You can now see why I listened to the president, but I never heard him. The right to property.
I am aware that you listened on radio.
Yes, I listened, but I never heard. Right, Honorable Speaker. That's what I said.
Because you are not in Kololo.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I listened. I never heard. 7.
Maybe
the right to property.
maybe the lob's ears had problems. Because if you cannot hear, then the lob's problem.
Order.
Yes, Stephen. Stephen, you cannot listen and you don't hear. You can hear, it may be negative, but you don't, but you at least you hear. Yes, Stephen.
Right Honorable Speaker, respectfully, the leader of opposition. I wonder whether it would be in order to say, you did not hear, and yet you are here responding. What are you responding? What would you respond for what you didn't hear? Is it in order to even respond on what you did not hear?
No, that's why I am asking my clerk maybe to send my leader of opposition for some medical and ENT checkup. Because at least I'm aware he responded and he has written a very good report. That is after understanding what was being said. Yes, Lord.
Honorable Speaker, I went to Chamagana Boys Primary School in Masaka. My language teacher was Mr. Lubowa Seboa. I blame him for my nature of expression. Honorable Speaker. And I apologize to the honorable colleague on behalf of my teacher.
Yes, can we move on? No.
Honorable Speaker and all colleagues, I'm talking about the right to property. I said at the beginning that I am basing my response on human rights, education, health, property, and I'm trying to make a difference the way we present these, not as a cram work, but as a real response to the issue that obtain. Honorable Speaker, Article 26 of the Constitution of Uganda guarantees the right of every person to own property, either individually or in association with others. And unfortunately, for the past 2 decades, land grabbing disputes, apparent in mass and violent evictions, ceaseless and long court cases have occasioned land conflict-related murders, leading to devastating consequences for our country. Honorable Speaker, without reading verbatim my entire text on this subject, one of the issues we have demanded here severally is for government to table the Justice Magemeri report on land inquiry, the Land Inquiry Commission that really exposed very, very worrying relationship between government officials, security personnel, politicians, and the general public. The failure to table this report be made public, Honorable Speaker, for some of us is very telling. and the evictions, the land grabbing goes on unencumbered, and there is a government. Right, Honourable Speaker. Right, Honourable Speaker, if you give each member 10 minutes to speak about land grabbing and who is doing it in their constituencies, the country will understand the gravity of the problem. Somehow, we the powerful have descended on the poor, and we are grabbing their everything at their disposal. I was in Ruwe, right, Honourable Speaker. I visited a sub-county, and a military officer had terrorized the village, and the entire community was fleeing for their life. For the record, the village is called Manyama in Ruwero. I hope when I reported that, there was a follow-up. The women reported that this military officer had brought rascals that were raping them and their children. Yes, they were on record on TV. They even mentioned the names. And he only wanted one thing: they must leave the village for him and his cattle. He had let his cattle feed on their gardens, their crops, and was uproar in the entire community. That community is represented by the Honorable Statutory Corps, right, Honorable Speaker.
So they gave you the name of the military officer?
Yes. Yes.
And you presented it because, you know, if you don't bring out the person, they will think it is General Kavuma. You see, and yet General Kavuma is a very good person. Yes, you will think General Lwelu. So we need, it needs to be on record.
Right.
It was so and so.
Right, Honorable
not,
Speaker.
Not the whole army.
I am presenting a full statement to Parliament on land grabbing and who is doing it on notice. You're here to know what is in Mokono, a military officer again, bought land, sold to citizens, and then evicted them after selling to them. It's really despicable. So I am going to make a full presentation, Honorable Speaker.
Please
online.
do, at least it's not, for now, it is not our generals who are here.
No. If you were one of them, I would have mentioned them. I know each one of them. Right, Honorable Speaker, issue number 9, protection of the vulnerable groups. Right, Honorable Speaker, there's a need to urgently strengthen the capacity of the most vulnerable people to access justice and claim their rights, as well as ensuring that the state is obliged to perform its attendant duties and obligations in human rights protection, gender equality, rule of law, and a just society for everyone. The government is mandated under Chapter 4, Articles 31 to 40, and Chapter 16, Article 246 of the Constitution, protect and promote the rights of vulnerable population, to address gender inequalities, to ensure cultural growth, labor and employment, as well as community mobilization and empowerment. It is imperative for the state to strengthen human capital development, community mobilization, and improve governance through promoting the rights of vulnerable persons. The acknowledgement of this role has, however, not been supported by adequate government priorities in resource allocation over the years. The gender sector remains among the least funded. Without proper resources for this sector, the country runs the risk of achieving superficial development that increases existing inequalities and excludes the most vulnerable and marginalized citizens. It is essential that no citizen is left behind as the country realizes its vision. This should be done through ensuring a significant proportion of labor force transitioning into gainful employment and enterprise development. Honorable Speaker, the government has issued a budget call circular and has banned any entity from recruiting. But in the meantime, the president said that the economy will grow between 4 and 6%, but it cannot create any single job. What a contradiction. A growing economy cannot create a single job. So are we speaking the truth, or it's simply bluffing the population? Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, briefly, I've titled the rights of refugees. The members will read that. I'll also skip the right to adequate standard of living and ask members to go through it. The slum growth and homelessness, right, Honorable Speaker. I'll go to B, which is page 20, the capacity of local government to respond to disasters is one of the major challenges. Right, Honorable Speaker, numerous disaster occurrences have been recorded across the country over the past years. The response only speaks volumes on Uganda's capacity to contain disasters on even basic magnitudes without huge losses or fatalities. Massive damage to both public and private property has been witnessed, with such obvious response, such as relief taking ages to get to the victims. Shamelessly, government ministers have brought statements indicating that the situation was under control when it wasn't. Instead, it has been UNICEF, Uganda Red Cross, making critical interventions. The government is either late or feeding the population on propaganda. While the National Policy for Disaster Preparedness and Management presents holistic institutional structure for disaster preparedness, there is practice gaps in coordination that hinder successful disaster preparedness and response. The disconnect is visible between OPM and the local governments. Right, Honorable Speaker, I did ask this House last week that we operationalize the provisions of Article 256 to operationalize the emergency fund, which does not expire, and expects the government in the next financial year to make provision for it, so that we do not run to the Prime Minister all the time for small things, blankets, cassava, firewood, cups. That should be with local governments. Somebody, just imagine my sister from Katakwi looking for the Prime Minister to give mugs to mothers to feed their children, and they have to look for a Prime Minister. Local governments must be empowered to handle those small things and really make a government functional. So people want basins, you look for the Prime Minister. No. Tarpaulin is Prime Minister. No, that's not the way governments are run. On page 21, I'll speak about the collapse of decentralization as we know it. Right, Honorable Speaker, the impetus for fostering decentralization service delivery ensures from the perceived inefficiencies associated with centralization. Right, Honorable Speaker, our concern that the government has swept this provision under the carpet in favor of decentralization. The current decentralization of revenue collection has derailed service delivery in local governments, such as garbage collection, waste disposal and management, road maintenance, among others. This stance has stripped local governments of authority over their resources, leading to poor service delivery. Honorable Speaker, we have spoken about this. I am waiting for a government minister of the Prime Minister to come and explain to Parliament why is the NRM government decentralizing in violation of the Constitution. Why are they recalling local government powers so that the Minister of Local Government attempt to go to Nyendo to collect garbage on behalf of government? So the taxpayers in Nyendo remit their taxes to Kampala, and the Honorable Mosas holds on to their money, are waiting for the state to decay, and then send some small trinkets to them. So what are we up to? I know most of the members here and the local governments are suffering silently. On this side, we are going to suffer crying out and making noise until the constitutional obligation of running government under decentralization is restored. Why is the NRM government decentralizing? Did the president usurp the constitutional powers of local governance and is now the local government? Honorable Speaker, lastly, I want to submit about the general impediments to enjoyment of rights. One, is the general performance of the economy as we know it. The economy is projected to grow at 6.5% in 2023 and 6.7% in 2024. Honorable Speaker, on the face, that should send us for a party at the biggest hotel in Kampala. Given the global growth slowdown and the fragile border trade in East Africa, Uganda obviously is likely to suffer the consequences. Honorable Speaker and the colleagues, this project is incredulous because more than 41% of the 44.3 million Ugandans continue to grapple with abject poverty. And the latest poverty figures are pointing in an upward direction, which is scary, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, if I may be brief on this, one of the reasons why poverty is growing is because the government failed to implement the post-COVID economic interventions. They failed to implement them. They supplied the country with a lip service. Businesses did not recover. People closed businesses. Others lost jobs. The recovery is non-existent. It's a paper tiger, right, Honorable Speaker. 2 is corruption. It is appalling that Uganda ranks 26th in terms of global corruption. This level of corruption has a significant impact on economic, social, and cultural rights, including access to basic necessities like education, healthcare, and employment. It's clear that income inequality, poverty, and direct consequences of this corruption, which in turn hinders economic growth and restricts access to economic rights. Furthermore, the mismanagement of public resources only serves to further undermine the effectiveness of government. Right, Honorable Speaker, on corruption, our concern is on how government, and especially the presidency, has elected to put in place pyro institutions to fight corruption. The main institutions, the IGG, the prosecution in the DPP office are underfunded, but we are creating pyro structures and funding them. So is the presidency frustrated? If frustrated, do you answer by creating pyro structures to rival? In our view, Honorable Speaker, those new structures are hiding places for corruption. And that's why we are concerned. And the president in particular, decreed that army officers should not declare their wealth. For us, this side is part of the tall grass in which the corrupt are hiding. Three, inequitable distribution of public resources. The national budget in Uganda is important for resource allocation and economic activity. However, it often neglects important sectors such as health and education. But Honorable Speaker, our invitation in this area is to figure out critical sectors that really balance the needs of the population to avoid situations where there's skewed development and allocation of resources. I will give any figures of these skewed developments and allocation. So, and their debt burden, the figures are, they are sickening, they are worrying, and before you know it, the weight of the debt will collapse on our backs. I hope no one will be found abroad when the debt crisis sinks on us, and all of us shall carry it as parliament and as leaders and bear it on behalf of the people, on whose behalf we have acquired it. 5, the PDM, right, Honorable Speaker, was launched to lift households from subsistence to monetary economy. However, there are concerns regarding the selection of beneficiaries, the unstable market and fluctuating prices for agricultural goods, disjointed financing interventions, inadequate infrastructural capacity, and mismanagement of group funds. The allocation of resources did not take into account the unique needs of each district or each parish. Additionally, the PDM committees have been either dormant or non-existent. There also has been cases of misappropriation of these funds, as well as bias selection criterion and gross underfunding with limited enterprise selection. That Honorable Speaker, the emphasis of the PDM has serious section challenges that we have discussed here for a one-size-fits-all approach, which for me is really a Stone Age approach to poverty alleviation. Most of your constituencies are farmer constituencies. As we speak, Honorable Speaker, government did not make a provision for suppliers of seeds, coffee seedlings and tea seedlings. But besides, they are demanding 46 billion from government, and there is no allocation. What's happening? These honorable members will tell you that they are losing their properties to money lenders. They borrowed to set up nursery beds. There's no provision. They are losing properties. Probably in a response, Her Excellency the Vice President will respond whether these are sacrificial lambs for the PDM. That the project has sacrifices to make in terms of people's businesses and homes. Road infrastructure, Honorable Speaker. This afternoon, we have discussed the inadequate provision and we concur. Probably somebody looked at my statement here. The road infrastructure is sick, as we know it. I have a problem, right, Honorable Speaker, with the way the resources for road infrastructure are distributed. In our conversation, right, Honorable Speaker, we need to make provision. For example, it is very okay, for example, to have oil roads because it's a key sector. Where are coffee roads? Where are gold roads? Where are the banana roads? I was in a Kasanda 3 weeks ago. Kasanda gives the country $1 billion worth of gold every day. Does not have a single Tamaka road. It's like a graveyard. Honorable Speaker. I hope somebody takes notice. Remember, Honorable Speaker, up to now, the gold miners, the exporters, the gold merchants do not pay any tax to government. You go to Kasanda, it's very, very scary. Okay, I told them that if you have gold, this is how you look. Please keep your gold. I'll keep my coffee in Masaka. I don't need gold in Masaka. If you have gold, it means looking like that. I would rather keep the coffee and no gold at all. That Honorable Speaker, I have broadly written about defense and internal affairs. Our concern mainly relates to our defense missions abroad. There are very serious challenges. There are complaints. I received a petition yesterday, right, Honorable Speaker, from part of our mission on police in Somalia, deployed in 2020 to work for 1 year and 1 month. They returned 1.5 years ago. They were only paid 3 months. Their money was, I have a list of these men and women who were deployed in Somalia for 1 year and 1 month, returned a year ago, 3 months paid. Their money was released by AU. Somebody has it on his account or her account. Honorable Speaker. So the concerns over these deployments is a very serious concern. When you see,
listen.
When you see men and women return in a distress.
If you want to make a noise, National Theatre is just next to here.
When you see officers and men in distress, these are some of the challenges. And I will formally relay their petition and an investigation should ensue on what happened to their money. The last component, right, Honorable Speaker, from me are mafia-run sectors on page 27. One of them is mining. The largely unregulated mining industry is costing Uganda heavily in terms of lost revenue, environmental damage, and exploitation of vulnerable communities. There is massive criminality around investments in Uganda's vast reserves of sand, a very vulnerable commodity by cartels, with support from influential people within government and the other connections. The cost of sand mining into the environment is steep and has destabilized the sensitive ecology around Lake Victoria and other water catchment areas. The mining is also labor intensive, employing men and many youth, many of whom are underage children. Illegal gold mining has occasioned illicit financial flows on Uganda's mining ecosystem. It is estimated that the economy loses about 2 trillion every single year in illegal gold exports. Gold exports from illegal artisanal mines in Uganda amount to 2.8 tons a year, with the children constituting 30% of the miners. Right, Honourable Speaker, this can be verified in the mines of Kasanda. I was there. It is very scary, right, Honourable Speaker. The Auditor General noted in his report on the performance of URA for the financial year 2021-22 that URA failed to collect 340 billion in taxes from gold exports in one financial year, which was estimated to be recovered after the 5% levy was implemented. Honourable Speaker, these are gold exporters, but the poor people in the market stalls are paying taxes. The machinery and mafia groups in mine not pay any taxes, Honourable Speaker. Secondly, fisheries. Much as the Ugandan fisheries sector is vital for the economy, the army, under the guise of curbing illegal fishing practices, has caused the depletion of resources and justifiably restricted the fishing activities. The UPDF have, out of impunity, continued to terrorize and bluntly torture fishermen on various water bodies of Uganda. Fish is being impounded from fishermen by the military, who in turn make a killing out of it. Harassment and death at the hands of the armed personnel have been reported on the lakes. Fishermen are terrorized and their nets seized. They are accused of using particular nets, now deemed illegal, yet they are manufactured in Uganda and cleared for import. Ironically, the government knows about the trade in such a gear because taxes are paid on them. Parliament has passed numerous resolutions suspending UPDF activities on water bodies as far as regulation of fisheries is concerned, and all in vain. To date, right, Honourable Speaker, the Fisheries and Aquatic Act has not been operationalized and implemented. While the Fisheries and Culture Act 2022 deems UPDF presence on the lakes unlawful, they still disrupt fishing activities and profit from confiscated fish and gear. Honourable Speaker, in my report on the fishing sector, out of my excursion, there is a unit that operates fishing activities on the lakes with the boats labeled Wacha Waseme. Wacha Waseme. So it is a fishing entity of the UPDF, where they tell people that it is illegal to fish there. They are wantonly fishing and they do not care. And the locals know who own these boats and which officers are fishing. Where they export and where they pay taxes, heavens know. That's how I call it a mafia-run sector, causing and visiting uncalled for harm to the population. And somehow life goes on in Uganda. Right, Honourable Speaker, on a notice to the House, my Shadow Minister for Fisheries has a ready motion. With your permission, right, Honourable Speaker, it should be of the order paper this week or next week, depending on your kind indulgence, for an inquest into these violations in the fishing communities. I know across the aisle, members are representing suffering communities without a voice, and the House must come clean on where we stand on these violations, Honourable Speaker. In conclusion, right, Honourable Speaker, I believe this account will create unease and discomfort for the perpetrators of state-sponsored violations. And I'm not here actually to cause comfort. Pray that they find humility to change for the better. Of course, I am not oblivious of the fact that they do not feel any sense of responsibility and recourse for their atrocities. Although we have embraced a human rights-based approach to the state of the nation and the budget, previously, we are not motivated by unreasoned expectations that things will change overnight. We are aware that there are powerful structural, political, economic, and embodied constraints against alternative approaches. Thus, our efforts are to rally the change seekers across the aisle to the common cause and offer direction for our relentless efforts. That said, Right Honorable Speaker, there is strong and overwhelming evidence that supports changes of human rights violations against the state apparatus and their charges of human rights violations against the state apparatus and their accomplices, including reports from various human rights organizations and personal accounts from victims of state-sponsored violence and torture. Despite this evidence, individual perpetrators of these heinous crimes are not being brought to justice due to the pervasive impunity in the country. I detest a situation where both the legislative and the judicial arms of government would be completely emasculated by the sitting government to the extent of rendering no redress to these violations. I do not want to sound alarmist, but we must intervene and act now in order to prevent a catastrophic outcome for our nation. Thus, in order to investigate the illegal and gross human rights violations meted out against the people of Uganda over the years, a commission of inquiry should be established in due course for various violations to bring justice and offer hope to the victims, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I have attached an indication of legislative interventions we intend to make across the year. And Right Honorable Speaker, inform the House that while the House gave leave to a number of your members to bring particular legislations to bear, we are facing resistance from finance. And tomorrow I'll visit your office with members that finance is giving hell to bring their bills to the House for your intervention as per the rules of Honorable Speaker. I thank you, honorable members, for your patience and listening. For God and my country.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Leader of Opposition and is responding under Rule 53. I want to thank you for your exhaustive report. I have listened to a 30-page report addressing the issues that were raised by the president. And I want to observe that 21 out of the 30, the leader of opposition is talking about the human rights of the persons in Uganda, human rights development in Uganda, and cognizant of the fact that the president also covered other issues. Of course, human rights has been an issue in this House. It has been an issue. It has been raised a number of times, and government has tried to respond. Apart from the human rights, the president talked about the agricultural productivity. He also talked about industrialization and then social services. On the issue of human rights, the missing persons, this House has over time, from time to time, discussed issues of missing persons. If you look at the Hansard, it is there. On the issue of several cases of arrests in cities, these have been subject to a process in various courts of law. And leader of opposition has been very kind enough to be one of the people representing those persons in court. So at least they have been given that freedom. Much as they are arrested, of course, for the sake of those arrested, their right to legal representation has also been respected. It has been respected by executive, including some members of parliament. It must be on record. Yes, things may not be well, but not something is being done. The right of freedom of expression, this is existing in this country, except those who think they are really, they have the right, the impunity to abuse people on social media. And I like the president for one thing, signing the Computer Misuse Act, because people think it is about them and that kind of thing. Let it be there. Because today they're abusing me, tomorrow they abuse Loeb, tomorrow another day, vice president. These people also should be. On the issue of education, leader of opposition, it remains universal in both primary and secondary. Me, I'm talking to the leader of opposition, because the leader of opposition is like we are in a country without anything. It remains universal both in primary and secondary. Yes, we have challenges. Me, I grew up in a school where I would sit in a stone, a log, that kind of thing. We have a lot of challenges. And of course, all this is budgetary in nature. We need to work together as a house to make sure that we improve these issues. Money has been put in education, but something is being done. And then the issue of the right to property. We are expecting your paper on the issue of grabbing of land. The persons who grab land will be brought to book. They must be brought to book. We will not have a blank statement, there is grabbing of land. No, we want to name and shame the persons so that we have a clean government and say it is so and so who grabbed the land, not just a blank statement. And this, if you remember, this house has debated on issues of property. The custodian board, we had a paper in this house. The Indians were given back their land. It was from government and it was legislated in this house. So it is not totally that nothing is being done. Something is being done. That's why we have the laws in place. The issue of refugees. When you look at the refugees, we still remain one of the biggest host of refugees. And that is, we are next to Turkey and Iran and Colombia. We still host the refugees in this country, despite the numerous really challenges that we have. We've tried that as a country, and that should also be given some kind of appreciation. The right to adequate standard of living. The adequate standard of living, that is the function of productivity, the opportunity and enabling environment. And this enabling environment, you don't be speaking. You don't be speaking. But we have challenges, but we have an enabling environment where we can quarrel, abuse everybody, disagree. We have the environment is there. The issue of PDM, that is a national development strategy that is trying to reduce poverty. The issue is, will it reduce? It has challenges, which we all need to come in and ensure that we handle issue of the challenges so that we reduce poverty amongst our people. It is about our leaders. We, the leaders, should come out and ensure that PDM works out well. But if we sit back and say we are waiting for government, we'll wait until cows return home. But if we say, let's put all our energy and ensure that PDM works out, We put a lot of money in PDM. Let's not go into lamentation. And then the other issue is infrastructure development. The problem we have with infrastructure development, when you look at our appropriation as parliament, infrastructure takes a lot of money, the biggest amount of money. But the issue, and what we talked about, the issue of having no regulations, lack of discipline, people don't know what they are doing. Yet a lot of money is being put in the sector. So leader of opposition, we put a lot of money there. We now need to work together. And as the Minister of Works said, they will come with regulations in 1 month. I think 1 month is even too much. We need the regulations to operationalize most of the laws that have been presented to this House. You cannot pass a law and you cannot operationalize it. So we need to have the regulations for us to be able to operationalize these laws. Defense and security, of course, despite the threats of terrorism, Uganda still remains the most peaceful country as of now. It still remains most peaceful. And the operation, I want to thank government for one thing. 2 days back, NUP had a very successful procession in Jinja, uninterrupted. Leave these people to have their uninterrupted. So the issue of operation, and I also want to congratulate UPC for winning Oyam. That shows democracy. And the lady is going to be voted. The lady is going to be sworn in on Thursday. Okay? Honorable members, honorable members, honorable members, Lope has given a report. Where we see we have weaknesses, we will correct it. We will go get a comprehensive report to that effect. But where we see that it's not what is being said per se, it's a blank statement, then government should also be appreciated why it has done something. Can I now get from this side? I will only take 5 people. I start with the OO. I will start with the OO. I am starting with the OO.
Thank you.
The leader of opposition has spoken it all. If you're this side, sit. Sit. That is how much I respect my leader of opposition.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, and I must thank
Honorable members, can you sit? Just good manners that the freedom of expression in this house, everybody talks the way they want, but when the leader of opposition or the vice president speaks, then we close. Okay.
I want to thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity, and I want to also thank the leader of opposition for opposing the presidential address to the nation. And you see, right
under which rule? Under which rule?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Under the rule that the law presented. Right. Rule 44, Right Honorable Speaker. The leader of opposition has a right of response, but not to oppose. Is the honorable member in order to stand and say that the leader of opposition simply gave a statement to oppose while he was exercising his role as a leader of opposition to give a statement? Is he in order?
Rule 44 is on conditions of admissibility of questions. So you have raised it on a wrong rule. Next.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for a wise ruling that goes back to taking orientation very seriously. Right, Honorable Speaker, and the response of LOP was largely, as you've observed already, on matters of human rights, and they adopted that deliberately. And the matters that he raised that has been here for a while. He is my friend until probably today when he will disown me. But matters of human rights in this country, NRM government, where I belong, together with LOP, we all belong to one government.
The government is being led by NRM, and the leader of opposition is a citizen of this country. It's not a matter of debate.
Really, Right Honorable Speaker.
Listen.
Right Honorable Speaker.
Now, honorable members. Honorable members.
Thank you very much. It is either that we agree that human rights are universal. It is a two-way traffic. It has obligations, rights, and obligations. This government that I know, part of what the LOP said, these are matters that I've not heard from you in a short while, but I can give you guarantee that the government cannot abduct any citizen of Uganda. The abduction that we are referring to here, these are matters that we handled with the LOP, Prime Minister, and with SAT. And now this is the tolerance that we need to accord each other.
Honorable members, when a leader of opposition was speaking, however hard it was, people listened. Let's be tolerant to each other. Huh? No, let him finish. Patrick, for now, let him finish first. Then you'll give your deliberation.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to proceed. I may not say what you don't want to hear, but it's also my right. Just as like your right when you get up to speak in this house, to say what you think you are convicted to say and you have passion for it. I will begin with the scripture that Honorable Lop quoted. Psalm 82, verse 3 to 4. Maybe let me also quote Ephesians 4, verse 29. Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths, but only such as is good for building up as it fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear. That says the Lord. For us, it is easy to point the wrong. And the way I see Honorable Lop, and he knows for many years, when you have a mirror that reflects you, you cannot destroy that mirror. That's how I see if there's an opposition. That's how I see it. But the mirror must tell me whether my Baba did a good job or not to put other things which are not there. If a mirror is bringing other images which are not correct, then I have a problem. But a world without opposition is a dead one. We are here every day struggling to be better than what we were yesterday because we have opposing forces. Now, Right Honorable Speaker, you indicated that these are matters that we have talked about here. Probably you'll make further rulings. To get to hear the narrative of people that the government of Uganda abducted the people, citizens, this is very, 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 very unfortunate. At least those names, we have them. We have given where we have accounted for those that are in prison. It is only in Uganda that where people are arrested and they are taken as abducted. It is only in Uganda. It is
Honorable members,
honorable
members, the issues of human rights were brought to this house. It was referred to the Committee of Human Rights. It was debated and it was closed. Can you go to the next item?
Perfectly so. I want to summarize that we should look at the criminality versus political activism. We should defend the rights of every Ugandan, including those we don't agree with, and that is the government I know, where I belong. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, the right to governance, the law talked about, election, there are probably about 4 types of democracies: direct, indirect, which we call also representative, constitutional, and the 4th one is what? Dictatorship. So, to say that in this country, when we have few isolated cases of malpractices by people who are either selfish or misled, and we get the head of state condemning such acts in this country, we would applaud such a president.
Honorable members, if we did not have that kind of transparency, then we wouldn't have Dr. Pio being sworn on Thursday. We are swearing in Dr. Pio. We have a number of members of parliament. We have numbers of parliament who are opposition in this house, and they went through the same system. So, okay, you survived, and you're in a government. Go to the next item.
On the issue of military officers being mentioned, I believe at the time that will come, but we want to set the record correct. It's not a government policy, neither is it a Minister of Defense or UPDF policy for any military officer to grab land. But also, those military officers have rights to own, and they can own anywhere. It would be wrong to paint a UPDF officer who is somewhere struggling over his rights over land,
which he owned legally,
which he, or they got legally, or there's dispute to brand.
But where he's getting illegally, then there's
where he gets illegally, he should be condemned strictly so. And we don't condemn, we don't condone those illegal or unlawful practices. I want that to be on record. We have gallant men and women in uniform, some of whom are here. They are supposed, it's not a crime for them to be in that uniform. It takes sacrifice to be in that uniform. But having a blanket blame on the military, we would be shooting ourselves down. I would be glad to receive the name of those particular officers who are illegally grabbing land from people, so that we work on them according to the law. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, how I wish you'd be patient with each other. You know, in my culture, when you're in pain, you get it, eh? You don't talk like that. You start throwing yourself down. Yes, procedure.
Thank you very much.
After procedure, I'll go to presidential.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable. Right Honorable Speaker, the leader of opposition presented a response to the State of the Nation address. Following our previous debates, where we have been responding on the same motion, I'm seeing ourselves going into a situation where we are debating the leader of opposition's statement. Yet, Right Honorable Speaker, we would be saying, anybody who stands up to say, yes, leader of opposition, yes, the president missed this, yes, he never mentioned this, or he said it this way. The leader of opposition has used a human rights approach to his issues, as simple as that. So, Right Honorable Speaker, are we proceeding well?
He's on procedure.
Are we proceeding well, Right Honorable Speaker, if people start giving a response to the leader of opposition, forgetting the main debate, which we started weeks ago, which we are still, they're losing it, Right Honorable Speaker?
Honorable members, nobody is debating on the leader of opposition's submission. Actually, I responded to all what the leader of opposition raised. The State of Nation address was passed. Honorable members, this side equally has a right to give a rebuttal. But the fact that the side had the fact that he has a right to give a rebuttal, I made a rebuttal. I gave a rebuttal to all issues that were raised. I now put a question that this House records a vote of thanks to His Excellency the President for a clear and concise exposition of government policy contained in his address on the State of Nation address delivered on 7th June 2023. Those in favor say and the contrary, nay. The ayes have it. Honorable members, yes, there is a procedure here. There is one here. Yes, Honorable Elijah.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I had previously wanted to raise during the debate, but the procedural matter I wanted to raise, Madam Speaker, is on regarding the PDM. Madam Speaker, can we hear from government whether it's procedural right for the district administration officers, the CAOs, to write to members to ask for money for the launch of PDM in their districts? We have been receiving, at least I can quote for Serere. The CAO writes to us.
Can we have a copy of that letter?
I will get to
No, bring it and we see it. We want to see it because we don't want our cows to be seen to be soliciting money. Solicitation is criminal.
Right Honorable Speaker, I'll deliver it and deliver it tomorrow.
Please do it
Yeah, I'll
tomorrow.
deliver it tomorrow.
Yes.
Because this is a government program, we shouldn't be seen to be the one funding for the launch of the PDM. Thank you.
Honorable members of Parliament of Uganda, I adjourn the House to 2 tomorrow.
Come from this side.